season of Yankee Magic, the magic moment was on May 17th when David Wells faced the Minnesota Twins. Just prior to the start, the left-hander was challenged by Joe Torre to be more committed to the cause. The result was a once-in-a-lifetime day. Inning by inning, the Twins were retired. A zero was followed by another, and Yankee Stadium's full house rumbled to life. Many had come for a sensation called Beanie Babies. What they got was more than that. There was David Cone in his private cell, barely able to watch. Then finally, after 26 straight had been retired, Pat Mears stepped to the plate, and in a blur of exploding emotion, a most unlikely man to be perfect certainly was. A perfect game in an awesome season. Tonight, David Wells faces the same Minnesota Twins. Let your imagination soar at the possibilities. MSG is the network for the #1 team in all of baseball, and tonight we welcome you once again to the most historic place in sports, Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. Once a member of the Yankee organization, Eric Milton will pitch for the Twins, who have stumbled onto losing ways. Meanwhile, David Wells hopes to continue what has been a spectacular season, searching for win number 15. Good evening, everybody. I'm Al Troutwig. Interesting pitching matchup because Milton beat the Yankees earlier this season, but Wells threw his perfect game against these very same Minnesota Twins. More on that in a moment. First, what happened last night was the Yankees just continued to win. They had too much Hideki Irabu and plenty of Scott Brocious. Frankie Rodriguez, as a strategy, pitched inside. Didn't work. Boom. Home run for Brocious in his third consecutive game. It was a two-run shot that blew the game open. 5-0 was the Yankees' lead. They went on to win it 7-3. They now have a 17.5 game lead in the American League East. It's the largest such lead they've had since 1941. They continue to be a lot of fun to watch. For more on the game, excuse me, Derek, let's go upstairs to Jim Cott and Ken Singleton.
All right, thanks a lot, Al. I guess it gets kind of boring when you look at the pitching matchups every day and you say, what chance do the Yankees have today? Every day they send a quality starting pitcher to the mound. Tonight, David Wells, who pitched a perfect game against Minnesota earlier and has beaten them 3 times without a loss over the last 2 seasons, goes to the hill.
He's looking for win number 15, and as Kitty mentioned, David Wells was perfect May 17th against these Minnesota Twins right here at the stadium. In fact, he set a season high that day for strikeouts, and he had the fastball working both in and out on both corners all afternoon. But 5 of the last 6 outs were balls that were put in play, including the final out off the bat of Pat Mears as Paul O'Neill handles it, and that completes the perfect game.
David Wells with that slice of perfection. 9 innings, not a base runner reached base. And how have pitchers done when they face the same team in the next start after a perfect game? They've done all right, 7-4. Wells will try to improve that record tonight. Sid, last night, we're pretty fortunate to be a part of this wild ride the Yankees have taken us on this year. They've had a couple of exciting comeback wins.
Well, including some on the West Coast recently, but we'll go back a little bit further. Why don't we go back to May 19th, and this was the ball game against the Orioles, and Bernie Williams with the grand slam home run that put the Yankees out in front. They eventually won the ball game by a score 9-5. Remember that game? There was a big fight later on in this one. And also a ball game a little bit later against the Phillies. July the 2nd, Tino Martinez with 2 out and 2 on in the 9th inning. A 3-run home run ties the ball game. A game that the Yankees went on the one, 9-8 in 11 innings. And they also swept the Phillies. They also swept the Orioles in that previous series.
Let's take a look at where the Yankees stack up with the all-time best teams. And you see down at the bottom, their winning percentage is second only to the 1906 Cubs. What a ride it has been. The Yankees tonight look for their 6th win in a row on the homestand. They'll try to beat their former farmhand, Eric Milton, and we'll have it for you on MSG when we come back after these words. David Wells, with that same old unbuttoned kind of sloppy shirt that he wears, is going to take on the Minnesota Twins again, the team that he pitched a perfect game against back in May. Starting lineups brought to you by Bob Stores. Great buys on brands you wear. Nixon, Gates, and Molitor. Then Ron Coomer, Terry Steinbach, and Matt Lawton. Alex Ochoa, Todd Walker, Pat Mears. He's the same guy made the last out in the perfect game. He bats 9th.
Defensively for the Yankees, as we take a look at the infield first, Brosius, Jeter, Knobloch, and Martinez, Curtis Williams, O'Neill in the outfield, Posada doing the catching. Chuck Knobloch has settled down in the field of late. His throws have been a lot more accurate.
Otis Nixon, who is one of 3 hitters in the Twins lineup that was not a part of the perfect game, takes ball 1.
Otis was still recovering from that broken jaw that he had gotten at Kansas City, kicked in the jaw while sliding into second base.
Shows bunt and takes strike 1. You notice Wells' pitching numbers, and they are very much Cy Young-like numbers. Very comparable to David Cone. They may be just a shade behind the Red Sox right-hander Pedro Martinez, but you look at the hits per inning and the base-on-ball strikeout ratio. A lot of fastball strikes, and Wells has now gone 2-1 to Nixon. 38-year-old veteran center fielder. The bleacher creatures are here out in section 39. Good crowd Tuesday night. Looks like it might surpass last night. Knobloch gets a chance to make an accurate throw to start the ball game, and he does. There's one down here in the Twins first. Gives us a chance to check out tonight's umpire lineup, brought to you by NAM, the National Arbitration and Mediation. Most timely, cost-effective way to settle your legal disputes. Ted Barrett behind the plate. A new one tonight. Laz Diaz has taken Durwood Merrill's place, and the crew chief Dave Phillips, and Dale Scott is at second. There is Laz Diaz at first base tonight. Number 2 hitter is Brent Gates. Not in the lineup last night. Playing third base, and you see his hitting numbers.
Signed by the Twins, can play third, a little bit of second, maybe short in the pinch.
Hit on the hands and pop foul. Be interesting to watch tonight the at-bats of Gates and Steinbach, because in the Twins clubhouse for about a half an hour they went over that entire perfect game, just looking at, I think, trying to figure out Wells' pitching pattern. Does he throw fastballs when he's ahead in the count or behind, and see if all that pregame preparation pays off. Toward third, Brosius knocks it down, and it's going to pay off for Gates. There'll be no perfect game tonight as he hustles into second with a standing double. It's one of those could have been caught, but maybe not should have. Just off the glove of Brosius. He's looking at it like he thinks he should have had it.
I think even if he had made the play, he would have had trouble throwing out Gates. Going in the opposite direction away from first base, having to leave his feet to make the play, crossing into foul territory. If he comes up with it cleanly, he's going to have to make a heck of a throw to throw out Brent Gates at first base. So Gates is on second with the 2-base hit. And David Wells, well, you know, you can't be perfect every time.
You can't. Well, that's 28 consecutive Twins he retired before Gates breaks that string. And here's the future Hall of Famer Paul Molitor. Designated hitter steps in. Fouled out of play down the right field line. Approaching his 42nd birthday. Kenny pointed out last night he's chasing Willie Mays a lot of the all-time categories.
Molitor has 3,272 hits. Mays 3,283. So he's 11 behind the Say Hey Kid.
That short stride, short stroke that we've looked at since 1978. That's just a touch inside, and it's a ball and a strike to Molitor. 87 degrees tonight at game time, with a little windier conditions, and almost like there might be a shower or two. You see the banners blowing a little bit in the evening breeze.
And Molitor hitting only 269, but 324 with runners in scoring position.
Good swing there. Fouled it straight back, and it's 1-2. Twins have done quite well getting out of the gate. As you look at the profile on Molitor, will be 42 shortly. Career average over 300, and he's one of a select group with that 3,000 hits and 500 stolen bases.
Let me amend that. He's even better with runners in scoring position. 348, which is about 80 points better than his regular season average. So he can turn it up a notch with men in scoring position.
Down foul, and that is a wow. You saw the Yankees season record hanging on a banner, 85-29. The Twins have done a pretty good job getting out of the gate first inning. It's been by far their best inning when they've outscored the opposition. A little discussion between trainer Gene Monahan looking at Joe Torre. Wonder what player they might be discussing. Again, they pound the cutter or fastball in on the hands. Molitor stays alive, 1-2.
You know, when you go back to that perfect game, and Paul Molitor was the third out in the 7th inning. Matt Lawton checks that ball out.
Looking for a scuff mark. He's going to put a scuff mark on it, give it to Eric Milton. Say, go out and throw this one.
And I thought that David Wells really had a chance when he fell behind Molitor in that game. 3 balls and 1 strike with 2 outs in the top of the 7th, and came back and struck him out. That's when I think I felt that Molitor, of course, is the toughest hitter in the lineup, probably the smartest with all the experience he's had. And when he got him out, I felt that he might get that perfect game.
And he certainly did. Shows you what a tough at-bat Molitor is, because, and those of you that have watched a lot of games, you've heard us talk about it, but he just waits till the last minute. He doesn't commit with that short stride, and it's just so difficult to fool him with anything off speed. You seldom get him way out in front on that front foot.
He's just been a good hitter for a very, very long time, and it seems that he's gotten better with age.
Fine wine. Left field, off the end of the bat. Curtis got a late start, but recovers and makes the play, and there's 2 down in the Twins' first. Molitor now just 1 for 21 against the Yankees this year.
Yeah, the thing about Molitor, too, now he had a lot of injuries early in his career, but when he played and missed a lot of games, when he was actually in the lineup, he did very, very well. He would be nowhere near 3,000 hits if he had come back and, you know, sort of slumped. It took him a while to get back in the groove. As you watch Gates at second reacting to the fly ball in the left field, he's back to the bag.
And thank goodness for the DH.
Yep.
He came in 1973, and that sure enabled players like Paul Molitor, who's had so many injuries, to continue his career. Coomer batting cleanup. He's hit quite well against David Wells. That's why he's there tonight. That's his zone, but he swings through it. He doesn't have quite the bat speed that he did. You see him shake his head, bothered by some disc problems up in the neck area.
Trying to get on top of the high fastball, can't do it. Foul tips it into the glove of Posada, but he had that big healthy cut that might have loosened up everything.
Another one. Typical approach by David Wells. A lot of first pitch fastballs and a lot of fly ball. Both the pitchers tonight throw a lot of fly ball outs. Their fastball is up in the zone, and with the breeze blowing in the hot weather, they might go a long ways.
But David Wells has had good stuff all year. Now we know he gives up home runs, but it's usually with nobody on base. Now, that's not bad against David Wells.
In the air to center. Looks like a fly ball out. Right on cue for David Wells. He's not perfect tonight, but he holds the Twins scoreless after a 1-out double by Brent Gates. Twins coming to bat against Eric Milton when we come back on MSG. Beautiful night. Red sky at night. Sailor's delight. So this will go along with Bobby Darin and go sailing tomorrow. See how well Eric Milton sails along his 23rd start. The 23-year-old left-hander, product of the University of Maryland and the former #1 pick of the Yankees. You see his pitching numbers. And he'll face Chuck Knobloch to lead it off here in the Yankee first. Strike one, says home plate umpire Ted Barrett. Look at that home run total.
Career high for Knobloch. Leadoff man who might hit 20 this year.
Fly ball left, not deep. And again, you'll see both pitchers tonight. A lot of high fastballs, and if they've got pretty good zip on that fastball, they get a lot of fly ball outs. Let's check out the rest of Joe Torre's lineup. Derek Jeter, Paul O'Neill, Bernie Williams, Tino Martinez. That's the same. And Tim Raines is the DH tonight in the bottom third, as usual. Posada, Curtis, and Brocious.
In the field for the Minnesota Twins. We'll check out the infield first. We saw Gates Mears, Walker, and Coomer in the infield. Ochoa, Nixon, and Lawton. Good speed in the outfield. Steinbach, the veteran, behind the plate for Eric Milton. There's a look at Coomer. Last night he was across the other side of the diamond. He was playing third base. So tonight he's going to get a chance to accept the throws rather than throw them across the diamond.
Jeter, first pitch swinging, doesn't get it. Ron Coomer, one of those players that because of a trade, he was traded from the Dodger organization for left-hander Mark Guthrie, would not have had a chance to play out in Los Angeles. But here in Minnesota, he's carving out a pretty nice big league career. 1-1. See how Eric Milton goes at the Twins lineup and talking about this, or the Yankee lineup rather, talking about this awesome lineup with Twins manager Tom Kelly. Looks like Curtis is checking out Milton's pitching approach.
And I think he actually had a scouting report there that was written down by one of the Yankees advanced scouts about Eric Milton. And here's our scouting report. Spots his fastball, poised, held back because of a tender shoulder. And they said it wasn't baseball related, but he was pushed back a couple of days. He wasn't supposed to pitch against the Yankees.
What a break. Of course, he would have had to pitch against the Orioles, and they've been as hot a team as there is in baseball. That was in for strike 2 and 2, and that line in the scouting report, spots fastball, means he's not overpowering, but he's going to try to hit the corners with it. Grounded toward third and fair. Gates off balance throw, and he's not going to get it. Couldn't get enough on it. And Jeter reaches first on an infield single.
Anytime Jeter hits something slowly to the left side of the infield, he challenges the infielder. It looked like Gates didn't have a good grip on the ball. He almost threw a changeup across the diamond. Fortunately for him, it was accurate on the bag as we watched the motion of Eric Milton.
Nice leg kick, and you see the glove stays out of the way of his eye. He can always focus on the target. Rather erect follow through. Doesn't really get over that front leg as much as you would like for a pitcher to do. Maybe that's why at 6'3" he doesn't throw particularly hard. A good fastball, but now what you call overpowering. Here's O'Neill. Slide step, ball 1.
I got a scouting report from Tim Raines on Eric Milton, and I was trying to ask Timmy what does he look for before he takes off and actually tries to steal a base. And with Jeter over there, he's probably looking at the same thing. He says Eric Milton does not bring his right leg behind the rubber, so it's kind of tough to read him. So he brings it straight up and then delivers.
And he had Jeter going back to first, so it was effective.
Because the move is from a left-hander, when you pull your right leg behind the rubber, you have to throw the home plate. But Milton has developed the delivery to the plate where he brings his leg straight up in the air just in front of the rubber, so you can't tell whether he's going to first or going home.
Throws him again, and O'Neill hits this well to left field. It's deep at the track, looking up, and it's gone. An opposite field home run by Paul O'Neill. His 18th, and the Yankees have taken the lead again, 2-0.
I think that Al Trautwig mentioned before the ball game there's only been one game this year at home where the Yankees have not held the lead, and that was against pretty good pitcher Pedro Martinez of the Red Sox. And right here in the first inning, they jump out on the lead again. Looks like a high fastball out over the plate. O'Neill, when he drops that head, that kind of tells you that he hit the ball well enough to get it out of the park and give the Yankees a 2-0 lead.
That is the 19th home run that Milton has given up, and Paul's 18th of the season. I think he's telling everybody, I was opposite field, but I got a lot of the barrel on it. Here's Bernie Williams. Sharply, Gates backhand. Will have to make a strong throw. Got him. Nice play by Coomer on the receiving end, and that's 2 down now. The Yankee first.
One more look at O'Neill, and the pitch is going to be up and out over the plate. Now, I don't know how much higher than the target. I think it's a little bit higher. Yep, he had to reach up for it right there, and O'Neill just pounds it. Now, we know that he does have power to the opposite field. He did do the look down, and now he can just trot around.
I don't know how many left-hand hitters hit him out to left field where they actually know they're gone. I mean, that's a pretty good bolt, and he had enough he had the right trajectory, kind of that line drive that carried over the. Tino Martinez takes the big curveball in for a strike.
See that leg coming straight up? And that's what freezes the runner over at first base. That's what we're talking about. That's what Tim Raines was talking to me about before the game tonight.
Outside, and you could tell by that follow through. That's why Eric Milton has difficulty getting the ball down. He's almost straight up and down when he finishes. Ground foul. Beyond deck circle again. If you like numbers, we've talked about how well the Yankees have done getting off the leads. Looks like the knob of the bat is pointing out, which means even though the flags come in, the ball's carrying to left field.
A kind of circular effect with the wind, so maybe that got a little bit of a boost to Paul O'Neill's home run. Now Paul O'Neill and Tino Martinez have exactly the same number of home runs, but I would venture to say that Tino has not hit many to the opposite field.
Primarily a pull hitter. That one's up and in. Getting back to numbers, the Twins would have to be discouraged if they looked at the stat sheet. When the opponents outscore them in the first inning, when they get on the board first, they're 7-44. So they don't come from behind too often. Pulled foul, and the count still level at 2.
And part of the reason that's the case with the Twins, because they don't have home run power to catch up. It takes them a sequence of things to get something going, and that's a little bit more difficult than getting a guy on in one swing of the bat, get you right back in the game.
Yeah, only the Tampa Bay Devil Rays have hit fewer home runs than the Twins. They don't get a lot with one swing. Good swing there, fouled straight back. Tino was right on that fastball.
Yeah, he's not happy with fouling that pitch off. You know, when you're in a groove like, say, Sammy Sosa, this one is long gone. And maybe Tino last year, it was long gone.
Broken bat and fair. Laz Diaz, the first base umpire, on the call. Martinez is going to head for second. Throws on time, and he's out. Trying to stretch the single with a double, and Matt Lawton guns him down. The Yankees get on the board with a 2-run homer by O'Neill. We head to the top of the second. New York leads it by 2. Welcome back to look at the biggest hit in New York. It's not on Broadway, but these Yankees have created some excitement here in the Bronx. Wells to the veteran Terry Steinbach. It's high for a ball. 10 home runs. Mentioned the Twins. Not a lot of home run hitters. Matt Lawton leads them with 14. In the air, right field. O'Neill and Bernie Williams converge. O'Neill will make the call, and that ball drifted rather far out to the right center field wall. One down in the Twins' second. Well, New York Yankee baseball, with those ominous clouds lurking overhead, is brought to you by National Car Rental. So what are you waiting for? Let's go. Matt Lawton steps in with one down in the Twins' second. Got a 3-run homer off Mike Stanton last night. Wouldn't get one off that guy.
He threw much too hard.
The Goose, Rich Gossage, in attendance tonight. Yep. Hi, yeah. Goose. Yeah, he doesn't have to worry about that weight now. He can eat all he wants. Curveball misses, ball 1 to Lawton.
How about facing Goose Gossage in mid-wind up and the lights go out? that happened in Baltimore. Eddie Murray was the hitter. All the fielders, Yankee fielders, they were laying on the ground. If the ball was going to be hit, they didn't want to get a chance of getting hit with a line drive. And Goose fooled everybody and didn't throw the pitch.
Good for him. I'll tell you, he had, for a right-hander, that curveball in for a strike to even the count 1-1. But he had that tailing fastball. A lot of right-handers have a true fastball. That's hit well, center field. Another fly ball out as Bernie Williams waits. 2 down. You know, a lot of right-handers right over the top. The ball is true, but Goose's just zoomed it, tailed in on. Of course, you were switch hitting, so it was tailing away from you.
Yeah, but it still wasn't any fun.
No. Get on the end of the bat and just leave you with a handful of fingernails.
You mentioned the fly ball pitching tonight, and both pitchers are known for the fly ball outs. But if you're going to be like that and throw a lot of fastballs, get a lot of fly balls, you better have a little extra on that fastball, because once it starts to slow down a few miles per hour, you'll get what O'Neill did in the first inning.
Here's Alex Ochoa. Takes a curveball strike. At one time, the crown jewel of the Baltimore Oriole organization. They did not want to give him up. They finally traded him to the Mets for Bobby Bonilla. Now he's trying to establish himself as a big leaguer here in Minnesota. Broken bat, and Wells spears it. Look what I found. Little snow cone. Twins go quietly. 1, 2, 3 in the second. We head to the Yankee half of the second. Back after this on MSG. 2-0 Yankees. Joined us late. Paul O'Neill, first inning home run. We invite you to come down to the stadium and cheer on the Yankees as they face the Texas Rangers this weekend. 4 games. Starts on Thursday the 13th and then Friday the 14th. Those are 7:30 starts. Saturday will be a 1 o'clock start. Sunday 1:30. Thursday, fans can receive that Yankee insulated cooler bag. Compliments of Hormel and Land O'Lakes, and tickets available as usual at the stadium and Ticketmaster, clubhouse stores, on the web, as Tim Raines takes ball 1 to start the Yankee second.
I bet you they've been on the web. www.yankees.com.
You got it down.
Well, you know, you punch into that website and you hear the voice of Bob Shepard.
Fouled out of play. 1-1. Tim Raines batting over 300 from the right side of the plate. 304, but no home runs from that side. All his power from the left side. Actually 307 as a right-hand hitter. Curveball high. Actually, Kitty, Eric Milton and David Wells have similar motions. They do not really follow through over that front knee a lot, and that's why I think both of them are high ball pitchers. It's just Wells has a little more on his fastball than Milton does. See, that's up again. No way you can get the ball low,
but if you don't bend over
with
and
that kind of a finish. No, so you're going to watch him follow through straight up and down, and ideally you'd like to have that front shoulder somewhere down in there. Another ball in the air, center field, not hit well. Otis Nixon puts it away. 1 away in the Yankees second. Gives us a chance to check out the New York Marriott Marquee pitching matchup. The last start for both of these pitchers. Remember, Eric Milton had to skip a couple of days with a strained shoulder. He just went 2 2/3 and had a rough evening against Kansas City. Wells a complete game win against those same Royals. As usual, no walks, just 2 earned runs. Yeah, it has been spectacular and grand and magical all season long here at the stadium.
Hello to you too.
Posada lays off the high pitch. Ball 1. Yankees 43-8 now, I believe, at home. Posada with 13 home runs, most of those as a left-hand hitter. Hit well over the outstretched glove of Mears, and a line shot single for Posada.
Looked like a changeup that stayed up high. And if a hitter can stay back, a high change, it says comes up to the plate with the neon sign on it. Hit me hard. You can see the grip on the ball where he had all his fingers in the ball. The changeup, and they threw quite a bit of these to Posada last night. This one kind of hangs right there for him to just tee off on him. Line it in the left field for the base hit.
And if you had to look for a matchup for Chad Curtis to get a home run, to get him into double figures, this would be it. Milton leaves the ball up, high ball hitter, high ball pitcher. Off speed pitch in, strike 1.
Well, we saw Chad in the dugout. It looked like he was looking at his scouting report, and he probably couldn't wait to get up to the plate. Throws a lot of high fastballs.
He's probably saying, okay, he threw 1 changeup over, but he's not. If he throws 3 of those over, you tip your cap. He's probably up there looking for 1 good fastball to hack at. Like a cutter, wasn't it? Milton kind of fooled him with that quick delivery to home.
Well, Yankees second in the league in stolen base, certainly in the scouting reports. Kind of a slide step move. Tim Raines gave me a great scouting report on Milton. Says
he sure did.
With the leg, and he has a slide step, and he's difficult to get a jump on. It's almost as if he's saying, well, don't look for me to steal any bases tonight. That's from one of the all-time greats.
In the air, fouled near the Yankee dugout. Coomer gives chase, a run out of room, and the count still 0-2. from Middleville, Michigan. They're probably watching on the dish back there right now, about halfway between Battle Creek, Michigan and Grand Rapids.
That's why it's Middleville.
Yeah, that's exactly what he told me. He said, it's in the middle of those two cities.
Ooh, that was his best swing of the at-bat. And that pitch was down a little bit. I think he's starting to get geared in on Milton's fastball. Here's a look at the motion. Now watch the front leg. Well, that one he kind of bent back a little bit. And Milton, you mentioned it, out of the University of Maryland, and Maryland usually brings up the rear in the ACC and as far as baseball is concerned, but Milton gave him a chance a few years ago.
Another slide step in the air to right. Lawton with plenty of room. So the outfielders are going to get a lot of the action tonight. Snap throw to first base, but Posada's back in time, and there are 2 down in the Yankees second.
What you have seen from Milton so far, with the exception of O'Neill, is those high, lazy fly balls. The Yankees not quite getting on top of it yet. But when you go through the lineup the second time, sometimes a pitcher feels that he's throwing just as hard as he was in the first inning, but actually he's not. It's a few miles per hour slower. Then you start getting long line drives or even home runs.
Mel Stottlemyre with the glasses on, reading the fine print. So he and Pettit must be going over the scouting report on the Twins hitters, as Curtis was on the Twins pitchers. Here's Brocious. He's got a nice streak going.
This ball was touched off. It went about 406 feet beyond the 399 sign there. And Scott Brocious 3 days in a row with a home run.
Outside, 1-1. In fact, 3 of his last hits, his last 5 hits have been home runs. Another good matchup as you see how well Scott has done lately, and Eric Milton's never retired him. High ball pitcher, high ball hitter. That's in for a strike.
I think what you're seeing from Brocious now, a few weeks ago he was really struggling both at the bat and in the field, and I do feel there are periods during the course of a long season where players have to get their second win, and a lot of times it comes during August, and then you start to get it together again. You make that final push. They used to call it the salary drive. Well, that's not important anymore because everybody's making pretty good salary.
And that happens in the offseason now.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't even drive, your agent does.
Yeah, that's right. Leave the driving to him.
3-1 now. Nice hitting count for Brocious.
Of course, salary drives went out about just a little bit less than halfway through my career, and I was thankful for it.
Now Block waiting on deck. Ooh, foul. Hit of that changeup. Yeah, this Eric Milton is, from a pitching standpoint, kind of an accident waiting to happen. You know he's a top prospect with a good arm, but with that pitching motion straight up and down, he's going to be a little bit of a project for Dick Such, and he just leaves too many pitches up to shut down this Yankee lineup. He did get the win back on May 15th. It's the only time the Twins have defeated the Yankees here at the stadium.
He's in a select group too. Only 6 starters that have beat the Yankees this year.
The run is Posada. This is hit to left field, but it looks like Ochoa will have room, and he will. So 3 fly ball outs. Yankees get a base runner but fail to score. 2-0. Back after this on MSG. Mel Stottlemyre's son Todd may get one of the starts when the Rangers come to town. And speaking of Todd, there's Todd Walker, now the second leading hitter in the American League, behind Bernie Williams. In the air, he just rubber stamped that fly ball in the air to the outfield, out number 1.
Looked like Boomer got in on the hands of Walker just enough. And you know, the stats they were looking at, it looked like they were looking over the Minnesota Twins hitting statistics, And sometimes you read those stats and they tell you what hitters' tendencies are. Like some guys get a lot of walks. That means they'll go deep in the counts. You're going to have to throw them strikes. Some guys don't walk very often. And you can just throw just about anything up there. They're going to have to swing. They'll get themselves out.
Ball to Mears, strike one.
They say that Greg Maddux, in fact, the night that he pitched here at Yankee Stadium, I walked in their clubhouse. He had the Yankee stats in his hands, and he was reading that very same thing. I know what he was thinking. Well, I don't have to throw him strikes. But when he looked at the Yankee line, he says, well, I probably have to throw him all strikes.
There's a scouting report on David Wells as the count is 0-2 to Mears.
Great control of the fastball. That's his key pitch. Sets everything up. Few walks. He's only walked 24 men all year long. Solo flights. He gives up home runs, most of them with nobody on base.
Ground ball, but oh, it is fair. Brocious can't handle it. That ball took a strange hop, and Mears is going to have an infield single.
This will go as a base hit. It looked like the ball made a right turn. It looked like it was going foul. You saw Brocious approaching foul territory. Knew he'd have to hurry. Couldn't get the good grip. And Mears is going to be on with an infield single. See, he crossed into foul territory thinking the ball was going to go foul, but it took that right turn and stayed in fair territory.
I see the infielders are on their heels tonight. They're saying we're not going to get any business. All the outs are in the air. A little wry smile from Pat Mears as he gets the benefit of their ground ball. Infield hit. Here's Otis Nixon. Mears with a modest lead back in time.
Otis, I guess, the epitome of the slash and dash hitter. And it's amazing that now this is the 11th time in his career, 11th year in a row, he has stolen 30 or more bases. He picked up 2 steals last night.
Wells froze him that time with the high leg kick, froze Mears, and the pitch foul tipped by Nixon.
And not many players have been able to steal 30 bases 11 consecutive years. You might expect Ricky Henderson's done it. He's done it 15 years in a row. Lou Brock had a 14-year streak. Tim Raines 12. Brett Butler 11, and Willie Wilson. Remember Willie? He could.
Yeah.
Oh man, he could leg out those triples.
From a nearby New Jersey track star. Good swing by Nixon, and it's 0-2.
That's when Kauffman Stadium was artificial surface, and anytime Willie Wilson hit a ball into a corner, you were trying to keep him from getting an inside the park home run. You're giving the triple away.
Gates waiting on deck. Yeah, hot and sticky, humid here at the stadium. Mentioned 87 degrees at game time with some threatening skies in the area. Clouds, I guess I should say, in the area. Ground ball in the hands. Not blocked, gets one, and they turn it. They double up. So after all the fly ball outs, Wells gets the ground ball when he needs it. He has shut the Twins down through the first 3. Yankees coming to bat when we come back on MSG. Yankee lineup turns over as Chuck Knobloch leads off the 3rd inning. Takes low for a ball.
You mentioned that Milton, or we saw on the graphic that Milton had actually beaten the Yankees. Ooh, number 2. Derek Jeter. Yeah. I love you. Oh.
She's not alone.
It's not even Valentine's Day.
On the edge, 1-1.
We were talking about Milton beating the Yankees. That actually he went 5 innings in that ball game, and the Twins scored him enough runs and hung on, beat the Yankees by a score of 7-6. That was on May 15th, right here at the stadium. 2 days before David Wells was perfect against Minnesota.
A lot of off-speed pitches now, and I mentioned earlier that I wondered whether Milton would go with Tom Kelly's philosophy. He said, you look up and down this Yankee lineup, and all of a sudden it's 3-2 and 3-1. The guy gets a hit, and here comes another tough hitter. So you might as well just go right at him. Challenge him with fastballs early in the count and take your chances. They'll just wear you down. Here's a 3-1 count again. Not many rookie pitchers have started as many games as Eric Milton. He is starting his 23rd game tonight.
They have another rookie pitcher, Dan Serafini. It's another lefty.
Pitch is low. And Knobloch starts the Yankee third with a base on balls.
Now we'll probably get a real good look at that slide step, also the move to the plate with Knobloch on. He and Jeter both over 20 in stolen base department.
It's one of those something's got to give matchups when you look at the Twins pitchers. They've really walked fewer hitters than any staff in the American League, but the Yankees walk more than any lineup. So who's going to get the best? And you can see so far Milton is pitching very cautiously to the Yankee lineup.
See if Knobloch flinches.
Slide step, hit well down in the corner. Ochoa won't get it. He'll play it out of the left field corner. Willie Randolph is waving Knobloch home. And they'll not have a play on him as the Yankees score their third run on the Jeter RBI double.
Well, I think the fans have heard me mention this before, that when you come up there following a walk, look for that first pitch to be somewhere where you can put some good wood on it. Right down the middle. And Jeter turns on it and laces it to the corner. Knobloch with the excellent speed. And Willie Randolph didn't hesitate. Even though Ochoa came up with the ball cleanly, he got it back in. But watch, the throw is a little bit offline, and the relay man has to reach for it. And everything has to be perfect to throw out of Chuck Knobloch trying to score from first base. It wasn't perfect that time, and the Yankees have another run.
Oh, those leadoff walks. And here's Paul O'Neill. Two-run homer in his first at bat. That's in for a strike. Jeter with his 58th RBI. And he and Knobloch now in the American League just second as a tandem to Griffey and Rodriguez in runs scored. They set the table nicely, and oftentimes Jeter will knock in Knobloch. O'Neill couldn't hold on the changeup, and it's 0-2.
After you get 0-2 as a hitter, you're looking for a way just to stay alive. Try and spoil the real tough pitches.
Straightaway center, deep. Nixon at the track. Boy, he was playing out there. Jeter will be able to advance. A productive out by O'Neill. Only difference between that one and the home run is that one went to straightaway center.
It was not a very good 0-2 pitch to Paul O'Neill. It was right down the middle. Only the speed of Otis Nixon enables him to catch up to this. Remember, I was saying trying to spoil the bat. That was too good a pitch to even spoil. He jumped all over it. And you can see Otis roaming to his left to make the catch. Jeter recognizing right away that he has a chance to move over to third base. And a productive out by the Yankees. And the Twins are going to be forced to make a move with the infield. You can see how the bat actually just about covers the whole ball, which tells you that's going to be a solid hit somewhere.
Now Bernie Williams, as the Twins will bring the infield in. The Yankee cleanup hitter at the plate. That's in for a strike. Bernie, a rare ground out. He grounded out to Gates in his first at bat. As 5 of the 7 outs that Milton has recorded have been on fly balls.
The Yankees so far are following the same formula that they had last night. Get ahead early, have a good pitching performance, and go from there. Usually spells a W.
It on the hands. Looked like Bernie was taking a shot to right on that swing, and Milton ahead in the count 0-2. Which most of the time, he's got a lot of fans here, you would say the hitter's in the hole. With the Yankee hitters, it doesn't appear to be that way. They are so efficient, even with 2 strikes. Hot, humid conditions. You see Jeter at third. Wow, another high 0-2 pitch, and Williams just missed that. Check out our New York Presbyterian batting leaders. The area's new leader in healthcare. Bernie Williams at the top. Todd Walker second. Pudge Rodriguez will be in on the weekend. He's fourth. And O'Neill and Jeter in the top 10.
And climbing.
And those two, the Jeter double and O'Neill's fly ball, is what has Derek at third base. Ground ball, foul. And the count's still 0-2.
Kenny, did they still list the total league batting averages on Sundays? I haven't seen that very often.
Now you get them every day.
Yeah.
It used to be if you wanted to find out where you stood, you know, that's where the Mendoza line came from. Mario Mendoza, because on Sunday, it's got a little scuff mark on it. All the players would be listed, but now with the daily papers, you can get every average just about every day.
Yeah, the reason why I say that, in the old days, they just used to list them on Sundays, and Pete Rose says, I want to see my name every day.
That's right.
That's why he was in the top 10.
Up and in to Williams, 1 and 2.
And
see,
usually that was the case.
Here again is a Yankee type at bat. Bernie very successful with a man on third, but even though he's been behind in the count 0-2, it's almost like he's going to work the pitcher instead of the pitcher working him.
That's why you see Bernie Williams during the crucial at-bats. He steps out quite a bit. He sets the tone and the pace of the at-bat. The pitcher cannot come after him as aggressively as he might want because Bernie steps out on him.
Right back to Milton. Second out of the inning on the comebacker.
Now, I don't think Bernie hit this with the true authority. It sounded like it got in on him just a little bit and just enough to give Milton time to get the glove up and make the catch and hold Jeter at third base. So Eric Milton made some good pitches on Bernie Williams. He made a few bad ones too, but Bernie wasn't able to capitalize.
You can see by that swing, Bernie was in a two-strike mode trying to hit it the other way and got jammed. Now Tino Martinez will step in with 2 out, and he's been pretty solid with men in scoring position. No contact, strike 1. He is the Yankee leader.
And that's why he's got 91 runs batted in.
Breaking ball hangs a little high, 1-1. When you look at this team, Kenny, you and I both know the game is not this easy. I mean, you hit, no matter how good a team you are, you hit some rough spots, but this team makes it look like it's the Globetrotters against the Washington Generals every night.
You know why, Kenny? I think one of the reasons they keep coming at you. Anywhere in the lineup, they can finish you off. And they have production 1 through 9 in their lineup. And there are no soft spots for a pitcher to get a rest, to get people out in a hurry, and be able to come back strong against the tougher part of the order. They all have something to do with the fact that they've scored more runs than anybody in the league.
Little bloop out into short center. Nixon with a late break is not going to get it. And Tino Martinez delivers again with a runner in scoring position. It's 4-0 Yankees.
That might not have been a classic Tino Martinez RBI with a solid shot, but Nixon plays very deep. We noticed that last night. Couldn't come on and get this one as it drops in for the base hit. And another run for the Yankees as they take a 4-0 lead. It looked like it got in on Tino just a bit. You can see the barrel of the bat is out here. This is where the payoff is. But a payoff on a ball that wasn't hit particularly solid.
No pictures in the box score. Just numbers. RBI number 92. That's a club lead and 7th in the American League. Down the right field line. Raines pokes a base hit. Martinez to third. And like you said, there just aren't any soft spots as you work your way down this batting order.
We also mentioned that a pitcher has a tendency to lose a little bit on his fastball. And now these high fastballs are getting hit as line drives as opposed to fly balls like you had in the first and second inning, with the exception of O'Neill's home run. You had a solid double by Jeter. Tino with a kind of a blue pip, and now Raines the other way with a solid line drive. He's able to get on top of the fastball by Coomer, and Tino Martinez will scamper all the way to third.
And when a pitcher has had a long inning like this is the 7th man to come to bat. He starts getting a little vulnerable, and Posada really had an aggressive swing at him. Last night's starter, Brooklyn's Frankie Rodriguez, looking on. Off-speed pitch, ball 1. Tom Kelly kind of hopes that his starters, and as a staff, their starters are 37 and 44. Think about it, Wells and Cone have 30 wins between the two of them. He just hopes his starters can pitch more innings than the bullpen has to.
Didn't happen last night. It was 4 and 4.
Trying to get Posada to chase the off-speed pitch, and now Jorge in a good hitting count, 2-0.
You could almost see the scouting report on Jorge Posada. Slow stuff. Try to avoid throwing him in the fastball. He's already had a changeup for a base hit, but it was a poor pitch. It was kind of up.
And he has been hot lately. Up the middle. Into center field. Another RBI. Raines will make the turn and hold. 5-0. They're blowing them out early again at the stadium.
Well, when you fall behind and you don't get your breaking ball or your changeup's over, eventually you have to come in with a strike, and more often than not it's a fastball. And Posada, a good fastball hitter, was waiting for it. Not only is it a fastball, just maybe about thigh high, middle of the plate, and he just slams it right back through the middle, picks up the RBI for Posada, his 47th RBI of the year. Nixon's been a busy man. Nixon's the one this inning.
About 30 years late.
Yeah.
Visit from pitching coach Dick Such, and very frustrating if you sit in that Minnesota dugout and you have to look over at the players that the Yankees can parade out there. Jerry Steinbach, the veteran catcher, trying to, as we saw last night, give him a little on-the-job training and encouragement. Todd Ritchie, just called up from Salt Lake City, former #1 pick of the Twins, gets ready in the bullpen.
Well, we heard Tom Kelly on the pregame show with his statement that they have a lot of weapons. And he's finding out what the Kansas City Royals found out just before the Twins came to town.
And here's one of them, Chad Curtis. Outside corner, strike 1. Rocha's waiting on deck. What appears to be a crowd of at least 35,000 here tonight at the stadium. Popped it up. Playable. Coomer at first base will put it away. Al Trautwig will join me in the 4th inning when we come back. Tino Martinez, an RBI single. The Yankees extend the lead to 5-0. Back after this. Night for that little fudge-sickle ice cream bar.
Yeah, you can gain weight watching Yankees baseball. That's for certain. I live out on Long Island, the town of Oyster Bay, Tow Bay, town of Oyster Bay, and they've got lifeguards. Tonight, I was made an official lifeguard.
Good for you.
For the Tow Bay beaches. I think everybody's in danger.
Swimmingly along here in the 4th.
Yes. With the way David Wells has been pitching, the way the Yankees have been hitting.
Yeah, and a guy that we wish would come to the stadium, but won't, said it gets late early. And it is for the Minnesota Twins and a lot of these other teams against the Yankee lineup.
Brent Gates is the hitter. For Wells, the perfect game went away, or any thoughts of it. Second batter into the game, so there was nothing tantalizing about this follow-up. I was interested, the Elias Sports Bureau compiled what the other 11 pitchers who pitched perfect games this century did after that. 7 and 4 against the same team that they pitched the perfect game against next time out. Gates has one of the 2 Minnesota hits.
It's a typical Minnesota box score. No walks, no strikeouts. They're the toughest team in the league to strike out, but they don't walk very often either. It's a nice matchup for Wells, as it was on May 17th.
Little bouncer, barehanded by Wells. Wow. Earlier he grabbed the line drive. Now he bare hands one, and Boomer is rocking.
That's what listening to that Metallica before the game, getting ready. I don't need a glove. Going for the Golden Hand Award. Of course, if that ball is hit rather crisply, it's a reaction play, but you keep that bare hand out of there. You don't want to catch one on the fingertips, but that was just a harmless high chopper.
He lunged real high, and then his uniform got all disheveled again, like David Wells' uniform frequently does. Here's Paul Molitor now. And I wonder, Jim, why the Twins don't walk a lot when they have a veteran like Molitor, or they have Terry Steinbach to preach a little patience at the plate. 4-3, Molitor is out.
I think there's a couple reasons for it, Al. The kind of the signature hitter in their lineup over the last decade was Kirby Puckett. He was a free swinger. But if you go against David Wells, you look at the scouting report, you're saying he makes pitching simple. He's a first ball, fastball, strike throwing pitcher, and that might be the best pitch you get to hit. Why let a guy like this get ahead in the count? And I'm sure the Twins are saying, we're going to test that first pitch. Now, if he wasn't getting it first pitch over a lot, I think they'd be a little more patient.
Wells has lost only 2 games all year and hasn't lost in just a few days short of a month. Now he faces Ron Coomer here with the Yankees up 5-0, 2 out in the top of the 4th.
Al, it again magnifies how important it is to get strike one, as Mel Stottlemyre used to do a lot, because the other lineup sees that, and they're going to start swinging early in the count. As a result, you get a lot of 2- and 3-pitch outs, and you can pitch a lot of complete games like Wells does.
Wells in his 154th inning of the season. And he's got a perfect mark, so to speak, against Minnesota. 3-0 with a very stingy ERA, just a shade over a run. And here he's got Coomer behind 0-2. Ground ball, another chance for Knobloch. Successfully done, and a 1-2-3-4 for the Minnesota Twins. So Wells has allowed only 2 hits, but no runs. He's doing that bare hand thing to get the outs even. The Bronx, Scott Brocious to face Eric Milton. Brocious flied out his first time up, but he has been rolling along lately. Coming into the game, he was 6 for his last 14. That's pretty good. Batting average now back up to 290. Yankees up 5-0. And it's been a lot different for Eric Milton than it was on the 15th of May. Yankees lost that game 7-6. And that was only one of 8 losses they had in the ball game in the season.
Close enough.
Yeah. For the American Express quote book, Milton said, "I'll never live it down. I'm Knobloch. I like Minnesota. I probably wouldn't be in the big leagues with the Yankees. I'd probably be in AAA." Coming in, his record was 6-8. Yeah.
That's a great opportunity to get a chance to get some big league experience. Obviously, he wouldn't be pitching in the Yankee rotation for a couple of years.
2-2 to Scott Brocious. And Milton floats one outside, full at 3-2. Knobloch waiting his turn. He has scored one of the 5 Yankee runs via the walk. Line drive right field. That drops in. The 9th Yankee hit of the ball game. They're really pouring it on. And nobody out. The leadoff man is on for Chuck Knobloch.
I know Joe Torre and the Yankees can't get too far ahead of themselves, but we can talk down the road a little. What's going to be interesting is, starting with the Texas Rangers, they begin to play the teams that are above 500. The Rangers, the Angels, the Red Sox. Baltimore is hot. Then they're going to face Clemens. So you take teams like this and you kick them when they're down, and that's what the Yankees are doing. Kansas City, now Minnesota.
Well, the Yankees had a stretch like that earlier in the season, and they rode through it pretty well. Milton loses ball 1. Knobloch came over, was interested to hear what Todd Walker had to say to us and Ken Singleton on the New York City Marriott's Yankees scorecard. And as the trade for Knobloch was an opportunity for Eric Milton, you heard Todd Walker say, man, I don't know where I would have fit in had Knobloch still been around. Knobloch sends one high down the line. He stays in the batter's box because he thinks it's foul, and he's right. And a nice grab out there. Another big crowd, by the way, as you look at who's done what for the Yankees. Jeter, 2 hits. O'Neill's had a home run. Martinez has 2. Raines has 1. It's a hit fest.
The comment you just made points out what expansion has done to separate the competition level. It's given Walker and Milton, players like that, a chance to play in the big leagues, and it's why the Yankees are so far ahead of the other team, personnel-wise, talent-wise. Normal conditions, players would be spending more time in the minor leagues.
And the situation for a franchise like Minnesota is that maybe once every, what, 6 years, maybe they could build a team that might be able to challenge. You know, if you get a few Todd Walkers and you build around them and sign a key veteran. But once they achieve success and the players' salaries escalate because of that success, they would have to be dismantled because of their financial situation.
Well, and the example of that is when Chuck Knobloch was Rookie of the Year in 1991. They were able to sign ex-Yankee Mike Pagliarulo, Chili Davis, Jack Morris. They did win a World Series, as they did in '87. They won it with a $22 million payroll. Nowadays, that doesn't buy you enough to be a pennant winner.
This season, the Twins' payroll is $27 million. They say the franchise will lose between 12 and 13. So next year, they've got a cut. So they're going to take a step backwards instead of forwards. Little excuse me swing by Knobloch. And he's retired, but as you saw, Brocious was able to advance.
Tried to hold up on his swing, but couldn't do it. And Todd Walker had to make a quick decision. You see, he's going to wait. He's going to let Scott Brocious go in front of him. He could have come in and gotten in Brocious's way. The runner has to allow the fielder a chance to field the ball. And the Twins may have been able to turn a quick pair on that. Yeah, the cost of winning has gone up, hasn't it? $22 million would buy you a World Series winner in 1991. Now it gets you second division somewhere. Talking about prices going up. How about the guy in the batter's box?
Yeah, that's a deal the Yankees would want to get done before it gets crazy. We're talking about Derek Jeter. Saw an interesting article over the weekend, Jim, which proclaimed him as the most logical choice to be captain of the Yankees. Yankees haven't had one since Don Mattingly said goodbye.
Good choice. Derek's young. He's got the respect of even a lot of the veteran players like Paul O'Neill. Conducts himself in the clubhouse the way they like, as well as off the field.
Bernie.
I think it'd be Jeter before Bernie. I think Bernie is one of those just really talented, skillful players that likes to stay quiet and not be too vocal. And Jeter is not a guy that goes shooting off his mouth, but I don't think you can see him when the Yankees score runs. He's the leader out there.
Plays hard.
Yeah, he fits that mold, I think. Not that Bernie doesn't play hard.
I'll never forget in a recent conversation with George Steinbrenner in the Yankee clubhouse with the media, Derek Jeter, I think it was after Armando Benitez hit Tino Martinez. Jeter was off in the corner of the dugout, and George was really, going off. And Jeter said, "You tell him, boss man." And I thought he's pretty secure. 2-1. And Jeter sends it to center field. Otis Nixon has it measured. Brocious not going anywhere. 2 away.
I think David Cohn said it quite accurately a couple of weeks ago, Al. It doesn't get much better than being Derek Jeter in New York. For an athlete.
Paul O'Neill steps to the plate. Here's what he did in the first inning. Kaboom, opposite field. His 18th home run of the season. Just missing the front row. And then he crushed the ball to center field. That wound up in the glove of Otis Nixon. So he's 1 for 2. Hitting .316. Brocious will have to head back. It's 0-1. when you talk about captain of the Yankees, I mean, Paul O'Neill maybe at a younger age would be a good candidate, but I think in his head he's thinking this year, next year, and that's probably going to be it.
Yeah, he just likes to play. He doesn't like to get in the middle of things. Derek's pretty animated, as you see him right now in the dugout.
Popped up, headed toward the crowd, and Steinbach won't have a play.
Chili Davis went down. You had a chance to visit with him yesterday. I think he went down to start his rehab assignment.
Yes.
Today.
Columbus against Richmond.
Jeff Nelson will, I believe, throw some batting practice soon. Maybe go on a rehab assignment. And so as good as this team they'll get some more healthy players back to make them possibly stronger.
And, you know, I've brought up a few times, what would this team be like if just about everybody in the batting order was feeling pretty good about themselves for a given stretch? We're almost at that point right now with this team. The 0-2. Milton fell behind against Paul O'Neill 2-0, and it was a 2-0 pitch that he hit the home run on. So fall behind, you get in big trouble. This time the advantage is his. We'll see how he handles it.
I played with a great Twins hitter for years, Tony Oliva, and we used to say when the pitcher was ahead 0-2, the pitcher was in the hole. That happens a lot with these Yankee hitters like O'Neill. So good with 2 strikes.
They get back in the count somehow, some way. O'Neill, another hot shot to center field. Nixon back, and a fabulous running catch by Otis Nixon. That's twice O'Neill has been robbed in center field, but that's the best catch of the ball game. So some frustrated Yankees, in spite of one fact, they lead this one 5-0. Yankees up 5-0, riding David Wells' success so far. And this copyrighted telecast is authorized under rights granted by the New York Yankees solely for the private non-commercial use of our audience. Any publications, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the New York Yankees and Madison Square Garden Network is prohibited and will wind up getting you arrested by the television police. Another big crowd. Last night they announced 29,000. I thought it was more, and I'm told that there were 11,000 Yankee fans who were given the opportunity earlier in the season when I think a game was delayed by weather and it was a long, prolonged day, and George Steinbrenner said, you know what? Everybody who's here tonight can pick another game. So 11,000 did last night, and we've got another big crowd here tonight. So in fact, with a few thousand no-shows, the crowd last night was at about 35,000. First pitch by Wells. Chest hop handled by Brocious, and Terry Steinbach is out number 1.
Now we're talking about Wells getting all the fly ball outs. All of a sudden he's gone into the ground ball mode. That is well, 4 consecutive, and maybe 6 with the double play.
Ready for this?
Yeah.
He's 1 pitch into this inning. The last 2 innings he threw 15 pitches. Of those 15 pitches, 14 were strikes.
Wow.
So he's thrown now strikes in 15 of his last 16 pitches. Wow. Matt Lawton swings and misses. Had fun talking to him today, trying to figure out that catch that he made last night.
Yeah, that Jerry Rice move.
Top 10, top 5, top 3. So he runs right over to Marty Cordova. He needed some outside counseling help. So the two of them decided that it was top 5 in his career. Oh boy, Cone is all over him now. 2 more strikes in a row, so it's
17 out of 18. 17 out of 18 have been strikes
for David Wells.
Yeah, and this is a nice curveball to the corner. Matt Lawton's having a pretty good year for himself. He's already driven in as many runs as he drove in all last season. So this could be a step out year for him. Now that wasn't designed to be a strike. They're trying to get him to chase it.
So it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Jose Cardinal, Luis Sojo, and El Duque schmoozing.
Like a pretty funny subject.
Most likely these men will remember this as one of the best summers of their lives.
Oh, my goodness. How about Yankee fans who will in the future say I saw the ball club in 1998?
Well, Yankee fans may wait until October's over to decide
true,
how great it was, and these players will too.
To this point.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously, Hideki's English is improving because I don't think Homer's Japanese is going anywhere. The 1-2 pitch to Lawton. Oh, that had a big break on it. Lawton laid off.
I don't think I've ever seen David Wells throw a pitch like that all season long. He's made this one up. Drops down with a breaking ball to a left-handed hitter. He's been watching El Duque and David Cone.
You saw Matt Lawton's leg get all buckled up. Jim Cott calls it jelly leg. Ground ball, third. Good scoop by Wells tonight. One was a line drive, one was a barehander, and that was a glove save and a beauty. 2 outs.
Well, here's a look at it, and Lawton actually gets a pitch that's up a bit, gets on top of it, but a nice snag by David Wells. Kind of nonchalantly turns, fires over the first base. He's clogged up the middle tonight.
I'll tell you what, he hasn't been perfect, but darn near close. You know, that was the first time since Otis Nixon led off the game that he has thrown 2 balls to a hitter.
My goodness. Strike after strike shows you how effective you can be if you get the ball over.
Zoned in.
There's another one.
0-1 to Alex Ochoa, who lined back to David Wells, another one of his putouts in the game.
And that was a kind of a slow line drive off of a broken bat.
High fastball, 1-1. Yankees up 5-0 on Paul O'Neill's home run, an RBI double by Derek Jeter, and an RBI single by Tino Martinez and Jorge Posada. And now this is the third man he's reached 2 balls in the count with. Obviously misplaced baseball loyalist.
Well, you know, that number 34, Kirby Puckett.
Thing.
Yeah. Kirby has fans just about everywhere, but certainly up in Minnesota. And they say that's part of the problem with the Minnesota. There's no more Kirby Puckett for the fans that come from miles around to see. He was very, very popular.
It all ended abruptly when he awoke one day and couldn't see right, and he found out that he had a degenerative condition in his eye. The plan was for Paul Molitor to come here and be with Kirby Puckett and Steinbach, and this team would still be a lot better than it is now. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Yeah, that was the plan. Now the Twins have to wonder about Steinbach and his $2.8 million contract next year. Do they bring him back in their attempt to lower the payroll, or do they pay him $1 million to get out of the deal? Those will be some of the realities that they deal with in the offseason. Got him. Wells is on top of his game. Another 1-2-3 inning as Alex Ochoa goes down swinging. Only the first strikeout in the game for David Wells. Back after this. New pitcher in the ball game, Ken Singleton. What can you tell us about Todd Ritchie?
As Jim Cott mentioned, he's a former #1 draft pick. Made his major league debut last year by beating the Detroit Tigers, but now working out of the bullpen. Recently called up from Salt Lake, playing for the Salt Lake City Buzz. We've all been there. Not
what,
Salt
buzzed?
Lake. Yeah.
We've all been buzzed. 1-0 to Bernie Williams, and he strokes a good-looking single to center field. Leadoff man is on as the Yankees continue to chomp away. Imagine if they could get to 90 wins before 30 losses. It's possible. They're 85-29. And you wonder, how good could this Yankees team be? How many wins could they get? Last night on our postgame, Michael Kay made his prediction of 117. If they got 117 wins, that would be one better than the all-time record held by the Chicago Cubs. Now, this is wins total. If you want to get into winning percentage, it's another argument. For all seasons aren't equal in length. Tino looks at a strike. The 1906 Cubs went 116-36. They won the pennant by 20 games over the New York Giants. Then they lost the World Series to the White Sox in 6. Mordecai Three Fingers Brown went 26-6. Harry Steinfeld was their big hitter, and they had that most famous of infields, Tinkers to Evers to Chance. And here they are. Tinkers to Evers to Chance.
All three of those, besides playing for the Cubs, they all went on to manage the Cubs at one time.
That's an interesting little note.
Of course, the Cubs since the early 1900s haven't been winning much.
Down the line, it's in, and a fair ball by Tino Martinez. And there's a Yankee fan whose heart is not in the right place. He played a ball that was in fair play. Probably prevents the Yankees from getting a run, and now he's going to be ejected.
He's claiming, in a sense, didn't know the rules, but the rules do stipulate, and they make the announcements before each game. Do not touch balls in play. You're welcome to the balls that go into the stands, but watch him reach over here and actually get himself a souvenir that will cost him his seat for the rest of the night. And he's wearing a Tino Martinez jersey. How about that?
Now they take the ball away.
Oh, man.
It's a double whammy. Well, he's pleading his case. Meanwhile, Tim Raines is up with runners at second and third and nobody out. Snap throw, and Bernie's back covering up.
I thought I saw a guy down there pass him his card as if he would need legal help.
And now the fans down there are booing. Ejection in progress. I guess the seat's just not big enough.
It's way out in the bleachers in right center.
You could say she's just hanging out. Big breaking ball by Ritchie. It's 1 ball and 1 strike.
You know, you figure the 1906 Cubs, the Cubs last won the World Series in 1908. So the 1906 Cubs couldn't quite get it done. But any team to lose to, they lose to the White Sox.
Ooh, that hurt.
Yeah.
Back off the bat of Raines. I think it was Jim Cott yesterday who was pointing out, for all their fame, Tinkers to Evers to Chance, they made, I think, 27 errors that year. But you were quick to point out that the condition of the fields was probably, you know, pebbles and bumpy and all sorts of stuff.
And those little bitty gloves that barely got over your hand.
Not those big mitts that like a Chad Curtis would use today.
You know what? And I think it had an influence on the averages because they probably gave everybody a hit.
Thought about it, and that's strike 3. So Ritchie gets the benefit of the outside call, and there's 1 out here in the 5th.
Good looking breaking ball from Todd Ritchie as he freezes Tim Raines. Raines thinking about starting the bat. Watch that ball drop. I think Brock thought it was a little bit too low, but not for Ted Barrett as he makes the call. It's actually where the ball crosses the plate, not where it's caught by the catcher. So Raines on a borderline pitch is back in the dugout.
Posada's had a good game, 2 singles, driving in a run, and he's got 2 in scoring position right now.
They were talking about Tom Kelly trying to get more innings out of his starter than the reliever. Last night it was 4 and 4. Eric Milton went 4 tonight. Travis Baptiste did a fairly good job out of the bullpen.
Yes, he did.
And went 4 innings against the Yankees.
Now it's Todd Ritchie facing a sizzling Jorge Posada with Milton out of the ball game. Posada is 9 for 16 on this current homestand. That's a .563 batting average. One ball and 1 strike, and he's kicking the dirt and all mad at himself. Bernie's on base, extending his hitting streak now to 13 games with a single, his first hit of the game.
Posada guessed his fastball got a hook that was nowhere near being a strike. He missed that one by a foot. And you can understand his reaction. What am I doing? We've all been there, Jorge.
Posada swings again. 1 and 2. So he's been there again.
Wow. 2 in a row. You know, if I'm Todd Ritchie,
I'm throwing another one.
Hey, why not? You know, and you have to have confidence in your catcher, Terry Steinbach, to block those balls in the dirt.
Now remember, Posada's a very good hitter, and he thinks those are hittable balls. That tells you the kind of break that this pitch of Todd Ritchie has.
He's a good low ball hitter. That ball's lower than low. Yeah, why not?
Another one, and this time Posada solves it. Base hit. 1 run is in. Another run scores. Posada legs it out to second. 2 RBIs, a double, and that blows the game open. It's 7-0. Now there's the Yankees in the nutshell right there. You can make them look bad for a couple of pitches, but they will come back and get you.
The problem for Ritchie was this one was too close to being a strike. In fact, it was.
He should have kept him in the dirt.
Well, no kidding. Throw one more down there. Posada might have chased it. He throws him a strike, and Posada bounces it over the head. They've drawn it infield. It picks up 2 RBIs.
So it's 7-zip, just like it was last night. Yankees in firm control to win a 6th straight, and Wells in good shape to go 15-2. Chad Curtis is the hitter, still only 1 away.
You mentioned the 6th straight. If the Yankees win tonight, and it would give them 6 in a row, as Al mentioned, it would be their 6th winning streak of 6 or more games. But Joe Torre has seen a lot of things go right, and in succession.
Outside, 1-1. And we brought up those Chicago Cubs of 1906. I bet most people don't know what Mordecai Three Fingers Brown looks like. They think it's the greatest nickname that they've heard in a long time, but they probably don't know what he looks like.
I have a feeling we're going to find out.
That would be a video setup.
There he is, and the reason why he's Three-Fingered Brown, because he grew up on a farm and he had an accident with the farm implement and cut off the last 2 fingers on his hand, and it Three-Fingered Brown on his pitching hand, and his best pitch, that's right, a forkball.
Curtis strikes out, so it's all or nothing for Todd Ritchie. He strikes out Tim Raines and Chad Curtis, but then gives up 2 singles and a double.
He does have a good breaking ball. Actually, that might have looked like a changeup that he threw to Chad Curtis and struck him out. But the Yankees have pounded out 12 hits, and we're not quite through with the 5th inning yet.
We have news from St. Louis. Mark McGwire has ended his sort of long stretch without a home run. He now has 47. Mets lead the Cardinals, though, 4-1.
Now, if the Mets win that game tonight, the Cubs have already lost today.
They are it.
That means that the Mets will grab the old maid. They have the wild card.
1-0 to Scott Brocious. In there, 1-1. How many wins do you think this Yankee team is going to get? I mean, we'll never hold you to it, so go ahead.
Yeah, they will. I would think, and I think there's several reasons for it, because I think that they want to have a real special season, and the veterans have to get enough playing time down the stretch. This is tough to get into with 2 outs. But anyway, I also think that the remainder of the teams that come in here at the end of the season will play a lot of rookies against the Yankees. I think that the Yankees will win, and they'll maybe win 120 games this year. And I think also Bernie Williams is going to win the batting title too.
Wow. I got more than I bargained for there.
Well, you want to explain it. You have to explain why.
Yeah. 2-2 to Scott Brocious.
I mean, the Yankees will be so far out. They're already far out in front in the division. That's a given right now. But I do think that the other teams will come in here and they will want to give their minor leaguers some experience during the month of September, and they will start younger pitchers. They will start young players in the field, and they will be in awe of this team when they play.
Outside, the count is full.
And it's a good experience for the opposing teams to have those youngsters play against the best team in baseball. So that they might, you know, you mentioned players like Steinbach. Say the Yankees play a team that has veterans that they're thinking about getting rid of. Who's going to play in September? The young kids will.
Right. The Yankee franchise record 110. That was 1927. 109 in 1961. Brocious. Nice play at third by Gates. Across he goes, but more damage for Minnesota to calculate. Bernie Williams with a single. Tino Martinez had one, and then Jorge Posada brought in both. Let's go to Deb Kaufman at the MSG Sports Desk.
Thanks, guys. The Mets and Cardinals are in St. Louis. The Mets have jumped out to the nice 4-1 lead, but Al mentioned it. Mark McGwire has gone deep. Let's take a look from Busch Stadium. It's number 47 for Mark McGwire on a 1-0 pitch. And it's gone off Bobby Jones. Mark McGwire has gone deep again. Big Mac keeping pace with Roger Maris. Cardinals are losing the ball game by a couple, but Mark McGwire has hit one out. The other two division leaders in the American League, Texas and Cleveland, have a quick 2-game series at the Jake. This game was scoreless until the 4th. It's now 2-1 in the 8th. The Indians could not do much against Esteban Loaiza, but finally Jeff Manto got him on the board. A solo shot, only his 3rd of the year. Texas still leads the game, though, 2-1. No Juan Gonzalez. He's got a stiff neck. He hasn't played the field since Friday. The Yankees and Twins are through 5 at the stadium. David Wells is in complete control. We'll be back with more from the MSG Sports Desk in between innings after this.
David Wells has been all over the Minnesota Twins with the exception of a couple of hits as we head to the top of the 6th inning. Is anybody home? I wonder if magic tricks. Todd Walker's going to lead it off for Minnesota here in the 6th. So far tonight, the young second baseman has flied to center field against David Wells. Curveball for a call strike. Welcome back, Kitty.
All right, let's take a look at Todd Walker as a hitter. You know, the Twins not mounting much of an effect, but your ex-teammate Terry Crowley has worked diligently with Walker and a lot of the Twins hitters down what he calls the hole before the game.
Little looper. This is going to twist foul and head to the seats. The count goes 0-2. Terry Crowley, better known as the king of swing.
And what the king of swing tries to do, he wants to see that front arm stay low. He doesn't want this lifting up in the air. Now let's see what Walker does. I probably wouldn't like that.
Little dip there. Meanwhile, Walker's in the hole. No balls and 2 strikes. Not a place for any hitter. Look at this, David Wells.
Wow. Port Arthur.
Yes. You can't say Laredo because he's a left-hander.
First look he's given Todd Walker from that side angle. I mean, there are times, and again, you see what Walker would like to do is keep that left arm level. And now let's see. Of course, this is a sidearm pitch. That's probably going to cause him to bail. Watch the front shoulder. He's got to reach on that one. That's unfair when lefties do that to you.
Well, you were known to do that, Kitty.
I tell you, David Wells right now could throw it between his legs underhand. I mean, he can throw about any pitch he wants. He is so in a groove.
And this has been going on for quite a while with David Wells. Not only been tonight, folks. 0-1 the count on Pat Mears, who had a base hit the first time after the last time he had seen David Wells and made the last out.
Double K, just 2. That's typical. The Twins don't strike out much, and they don't walk much.
Ball and a strike on Mears, and he lifts one high in the air to the left side. Drifting back is Brocious, and the Yankee third baseman just in foul territory makes the catch. So 2 up and 2 down here in the 6th inning. And here is our New York Marriott marquee matchup. Eric Milton went 4 innings, 9 hits, 5 earned runs. Didn't earn a strikeout, had a walk. David Wells threw 5 2/3, only 2 hits allowed, no runs, 2 strikeouts, and once again showing that fine control with no walks. David Wells' last loss was June the 15th. It's almost been 2 months since he's lost a game. That was against the Orioles at Baltimore. Pitches in there for a strike to the leadoff hitter, Otis Nixon.
I mean, there are first pitch strike pitchers like Greg Maddux, and then there is pure arrogance, and that's what Wells is doing. When you look at his numbers for the last 4 innings, the pitches he's thrown, the strikes and the first pitch strikes, it adds up to success.
That one just missed, and it's a ball and a strike. And you go back, I mentioned June 15th was his loss. For his previous loss, he's only had 2 all year. You have to go all the way back to April the 2nd.
The last 13 hitters he's faced, he has thrown strike 1.
Locked in, Kitty. 1-1 pitch. Nixon takes it low. Ball 2. 2-1.
And about 80% of the he threw 1 ball. He's disturbed with himself. Jim Bunning Pitched a perfect game against the Mets, 64, and then followed that up with a shutout against the Mets. He is one of the few that has really backed up a perfect game with that kind of performance.
Nixon will foul this off 2-2. That was in the early days of the Mets when they didn't offer much resistance to anybody, but still a perfect game's a perfect game. And he did it on Father's Day, Kitty.
Perfect. And he had, when he did it, speaking of Father's Day, I think Congressman Bunning had 7 or 8 children at the time. I think he and his wife Mary rounded it off at 8 or 10, somewhere in there.
Nixon might have got a piece of that one. Fouls it off. Otis Nixon still possesses the good wheels. We've seen him run down some long shots the first 2 games of this series out in that expansive Yankee Stadium center field. And we saw him steal 2 bases last night in the Twin loss, 7-3 to the Yankees. Curveball,
wow,
just a little bit low. The count goes full at 3-2.
He can smile because that's one of the few Ted Barrett has made. This is strike 3. See where it comes across the plate. See right there, caught about that corner right in there. By the time Posada caught it, it was low. That's the toughest pitch to get a called strike on, is a good overhand curve, and that's the first time in the entire game he's gone to 3 balls.
Full count with 2 outs. And a little looper over the head of Knobloch, and is going to drop into right field for a 2-out single for Otis Nixon. So Nixon will earn the 3rd base hit for the Minnesota Twins in this game. So he's aboard for Brent Gates, the 3rd baseman.
3-2 pitch and a pretty good fastball. Then you mentioned earlier Otis Nixon, this being a slasher, chops down on that. Pick up a base hit.
Well, even with the Yankees up 7-0, they're going to hold Otis Nixon on. Might as well not give him second base as Brent Gates steps in. Gates is a switch hitter, batting right-handed against Wells. And there's another first pitch strike. Gates had a double off the glove of Scott Brosius in the 1st inning. Then hit a line drive, a nice play by David Wells on 1 hop. Threw out Gates in the 4th. And that will miss.
I think that was for practice. Slide step, you know, in case in postseason you got a base stealer. You see David Wells control numbers up there in 4th spot in club history.
Trying to get out of the top of the 6th inning. And Gates will pop it up to the right side. And it appears that it's going to be Chuck Knobloch who makes the play as Tino Martinez gets out of the way. So David Wells does give up a hit in the 6th, but nothing else to Minnesota. We've played 5.5. So far, it's all Yankees. 7-0 Yankees. Bottom of the 6th is going to be the top of the order. And Chuck Knobloch, who so far tonight is 0 for 2, has drawn a walk and scored 1 of the 7 Yankee runs. Facing the right-hander Todd Ritchie for the first time. It's a fastball up high. The Twins have made a change in center field. The veteran Otis Nixon will, for the day game tomorrow, will get the rest of this evening off. That's Denny Hocking, who can play just about anywhere, can't he?
Has to stay in the big leagues. That's a nice story.
Ball and a strike to Knobloch.
Denny Hocking was drafted in the 52nd round. Now Chad Curtis was a 46th rounder. You don't, young players, you don't have to be a blue chipper. You can work hard and make it to the big leagues. That's the highest draft player ever made it to the major leagues for the Minnesota Twins. He came up as a shortstop. Like you said, he can play all over.
You say the highest or the lowest?
Well, depending on the highest in number, 52nd round. But right, a lot of scouts passed on him, like 1,500 players, something like that, were picked before Denny Hocking. And he's gone through a broken jaw, a lot of injuries, and he has battled his way for a spot on the roster with this team.
Knobloch off the end of the bat for Todd Walker. and he will throw out Chuck Knobloch for the first out of the inning. Well, play ball with the Yankee legends. It's Ford, Hunter, Gossage, Nettles, and many more. The all-time Yankee greats. New York Yankees Fantasy Camp. That's January 16th through the 22nd, 1999. At the Yankee Spring Training Home, Legends Field in Tampa, Florida. Have to be age 30 or older. Space is limited. $4,295. Proceeds benefit the Yankee Foundation. Call 1-800-368-CAMP.
And those wannabe ball players have a good time at those fantasy camps. They get their money's worth.
Yeah. And just think, you can party like it's 1999. Jeter kind of flips one into right field for a base hit. Matt Lawton quickly over will hold Jeter to a single. And Jeter has his third hit of the night. Ball gets away, but not far enough for Jeter to advance.
Looked like Derek just kind of followed that curveball down, and you'll see the point of contact a little off the end of the bat, and just served it into right field. Well placed.
I've got a candidate for the Yankee Fantasy Camp, and he's 30 or older. I know he is. Joe Ferraro lives out in Smithtown, Long Island, and I know he would love to go to the Yankee Fantasy Camp. But you know, when you live out in Smithtown, you have, if you want to pronounce it, you have to say Smithtown.
Smithtown.
Smithtown, yeah.
Like Blair, Maryland, not Bel Air. Huh?
Pitch to Paul O'Neill. And Paul is homered. Hit the ball hard 3 times, actually. Flied to center twice. Jeter not being held on at first with 1 down. Ron Coomer a couple of steps behind him. Yankees up big time, 7-0.
I was at several fantasy camps a decade or 2 ago, and I recall one where we had a big, tall surgeon named Mike Murphy. And he's sliding head first into third base. We're saying, Mike, get a grip. What are you doing? I mean, your livelihood's at stake with those hands. He was going full bore on every play. And he said, my mother never let me play ball when I was a kid. I always had to take piano lessons. I'm going to get my money's worth. I mean, they really enjoy it. But about 2 days into it, they're in the training room, and
oh yeah,
hamstrings and all kinds of sore muscles, but they really have a good time. Those things are a lot of fun.
I think what you hear at the end of the week, they have a newfound respect for major league players and how they can do this on just about an everyday basis.
Yep. It starts out the week with a hit and run sign, and at the end it's hit and limp.
O'Neill chases a good breaking ball. Ritchie has one, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Yeah, Todd Ritchie is a hooker. Watch this hand go behind him. Rick Sutcliffe did that. It puts a little extra strain on the arm, but he kind of hooks that ball behind him, and he has had some shoulder problems. He's out of Duncanville, Texas, and actually outpitched Todd Van Poppel in the high school championship down there. That's why the Twins thought they had quite a pitcher when they drafted him in 1990.
Another breaking ball. O'Neill didn't get all of this one, and Lawton, with his good speed, will close the gap in right center. And that is the second out for the Yankees here in the 6th inning.
Paul O'Neill with about 1,400 feet worth of fly outs today. Again, now we're going to look at Ritchie's pitching arm go back here and make a little hook right there.
Oh.
See, ideally, you can see the strain that puts on the arm. Ideally, you'd like to see that arm go straight back towards second base. Steve Avery of the Red Sox now is a great example of that, but Ritchie's showing pretty good stuff. A couple of good strikeout pitches, one to Raines.
Bernie Williams singled, scored. That was in the 5th. Tom Kelly's gone to the bullpen the last 2 nights, and each pitcher's come on to do a pretty good job. A lot of movement on that fastball, and a swing and a miss by Bernie. Strike 1.
Yeah, he was kidding today, and you've heard this statement in baseball for years. Starting pitcher has a rough go, and then like Travis Baptiste came in last night, he'll say, you started the wrong guy. Why didn't you start this guy? But it's a little easier pitching when you're down 7 than when you start fresh with this Yankee lineup.
Here's a look at the Twins bullpen. As of now, it is quiet. 1 ball, 1 strike on Bernie Williams. Now, Kenny, you sat out there many years. A lot of stories that told the bullpen that I never got to hear.
Non-baseball stories and games. Sunflower seeds, you invent some games. Start rating the restaurants in cities that you're in. Or one of the popular ones we play, you come up with initials. Thinking of a ball player. CY. Yeah, it's pretty easy. And then somebody say, give me a hint. Okay, American League. What era? 60s, 70s. Carl Yastrzemski. You play games like that in the bullpen just to, especially when you're down 7-zip.
Oh, I was thinking Cy Young. I would have missed them.
Yeah.
2-1 pitch to Bernie. Swing and a miss. Once again, good movement on the pitch from Todd Ritchie. We used to tell a lot of stories too. The games get out of hand, and Lee May, you tell a story about somebody, Lee May would say, former teammate of mine, he'd say, let's go back in the book, and he'd flip imaginary pages. Yep, there it is. 1972, went deep with 2 men on. Pitch to Bernie, wouldn't chase the curveball, but the count is going full 3-2. So Jeter will be off and running on the payoff pitch to Bernie Williams. Of course, you can stretch the truth when you have only an imaginary book. There's a look at Jeter at first base. Scoreboard just beyond Jeter, which tells you that the Yankees leading 7-0. Timeout called. Bernie, who wears contacts, by the way, now is ready. The pitch, and that is called strike 3. Ritchie picks up his 3rd strikeout since coming out of the bullpen for the Twins in the 5th inning. We've played 6 full innings here at Yankee Stadium. 7-0. The Yankees lead it. Good crowd on hand. See the Yankees and the Twins in the middle game of the 3-game series. We'll be right back here tomorrow afternoon on MSG. We close it out as LaTroy Hawkins will face David Cone. Tonight it's David Wells working on a 3-hitter. We're in the top of the 7th inning, and he'll face Paul Molitor. Molitor, who has hit only 1 home run this year. That was way back in April off of Tim Belcher.
I think a lot of that is the result of the rib injury, fractured rib when he was hit by a Matt Karchner fastball. Just unable to turn as quickly as Molitor did in his younger days and when he was 100% healthy.
231 career homers, and he swings at the first pitch and fouls it straight back. His career home run high was back in 1993 with the Blue Jays when they went on to win the world title for the 2nd consecutive year. Hit 22 home runs that year with Toronto. And was the MVP of the World Series. Swings here, hits one high and deep, but foul. It's going to make it to the upper deck. Power's coming back.
But it's another strike. David Wells has thrown 70 pitches. 54 strikes. That is unbelievable. And now up to 15 straight first pitch strikes. Here's the one inside that Molitor does turn on, but pulls foul.
Molitor with a count of no balls and 2 strikes. Wells shook off 1 pitch, now delivers. Breaking ball just missed, and the count goes to 1-2. That was designed to get Molitor to chase, thinking it was another fastball. Nothing you can do but sit back and watch. You know, certain pitchers have the numbers on certain teams. Crowds him 2-2.
Yeah, toughest decision lately that Joe Torre has had to make is when do I take my starter out and give the bullpen a little work. Arabu, 7 solid innings last night, a shutout baseball.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Molitor leading off the 7th. Change-up got him. Strikeout number 3 for David Wells as he gets Molitor leading off the 7th inning.
I don't know if there's any lyrics to those songs that David Wells listens to, you know, Metallica and Styx and stuff, but if it's like whatever I want, wherever I want, something to that effect, that's what Wells is in right now. Whatever he wants to throw, you pick out the change-up grip. Doesn't throw many of them, but that one is dead perfect. Knee-high outside edge, and certainly fooled Molitor.
And moving away just enough. Here's Ron Coomer, who's flied out and grounded out, 0 for 2. He too swings at the first pitch and fouls it back. And I think what is happening with Wells here, that pitch might have been a ball, is that the Twins hitters are looking for that first pitch to be in there, and they're hacking, which can only play into the hand of David Wells. His Molitor now 0 for 3 tonight, but he's got plenty of company. Wells has allowed just 3 hits.
As a designated hitter, that gives you a lot of insight into the lack of power by the Twins. Their DHs, Paul Molitor and whoever they used early in the year, have 2 home runs all year.
Off the end of the bat into the Yankees dugout, and the count goes 0-2. Well, everybody's been looking at the balls when they go in the dugout. Huh? Meanwhile, Coomer, like Molitor before him, is up there with a count of no balls and 2 strikes. Curveball, and it's nubbed foul in the home plate area. This one they're going to check.
Yeah, there's some pitchers that could get a vanity license plate that would say like full count or 3-2, and Wells would be the leading candidate to just get one that says 0-2. If he's got a Cy Young clause in his contract, he's making a pretty good bid at it. I'd say right now you got Pedro Martinez, David Cone, and David Wells, the top candidates.
And you know, the 2 Davids on the Yankees will kind of push each other down the stretch for 20 victories apiece, or maybe more. Fans want to see the strikeout with the count 0-2. Instead, they're going to get a looper in the left field for a base hit. So Coomer turns on the fastball, got just enough of it to pick up his first hit of the night. And number 4 for the Minnesota Twins.
Ron Coomer may be one of those guys that, despite all the success Wells has against Minnesota, he just gets a lot of, he's a high ball hitter, and he just gets a few hits like that and mixes in with some line drives. He's the best the Twins have to offer against Wells.
With 1 out and 1 on, it's going to be Terry Steinbach. We saw Wells get 1 ground ball double play today. Line drive to third, and that's going to be it, as Coomer scampers back to first base. Once again, first ball hitting.
A lot of good things happen when you throw first pitch strikes, even when they hit it hard. And I mean, he's rolling now. He was let's see, did he throw strike 1 to Coomer?
Yeah, he did. It was an 0-2 count.
Yeah. 17 straight first pitch strikes.
Here is Matt Lawton. He missed on the breaking ball.
Now that would be a statistic that they could start putting into baseball that would be meaningful and motivating to pitchers. You go out there the next day and you say, okay, Wells had 17. I'll break that record. You'd get pitchers in the frame of mind to throw in strike 1.
And get the ball over and moving the game along, wouldn't it?
And make your fielders happy.
Yeah. Lawton with a bouncing ball to the right side. Knobloch will close the hole. He'll flip to Tino Martinez. And for the 2nd consecutive inning, David Wells gives up a single, but nothing else. Fans will be on their feet here at the stadium as we head to the 7th inning stretch. Speaking of 7, the Yankees lead it by a score of 7-0. Todd Ritchie will face Tino Martinez, who is working on a perfect night. Well, I think it's just about to end. With a fly ball to center field for Denny Hockey, and Tino was made out for the first time tonight. He had 2 singles, a double, driven in a run, and scored 2. 1 pitch, 1 out here at the bottom of the 7th.
You remember of all the really good teams you were on in Baltimore, anything close to a run like the Yankees have had right now?
Nothing. We did have 1 year where we finished 45 games over 500 and went on to the World Series. But nothing like this. Range hits a high fly ball, fairly deep center field. Hocking going back to the warning track, to the wall, and makes the catch. Tim Raines, you get your feelings hurt hitting the ball that far, and it's nothing but an out. So 2 pitches for Todd Ritchie here in the bottom of the 7th, and 2 outs. Both caught by Denny Hocking, the center fielder.
Much more power from the left side, and that down and in zone where lefties like it. Tim thought for a moment he might have had enough. Track power, they'll tell him in the dugout. I thought I was a part of some awfully talented teams in Philadelphia with Mike Schmidt, Greg Lazinski, Davey Johnson, and Jose Cardinal were on the bench on those teams. And, 100-win seasons, but never a streak like this.
Posada, he too working on a perfect night. 2 singles and a double. And 3 runs batted in. And he takes a call strike.
And as much fun as it is for Yankee fans, it is kind of a sad state for baseball to see the lack of competition. It'll get better this weekend. The Rangers are going to come in, and that's not disrespectful of the Twins. They're just outmanned.
That's 1-1. I think, Kitty, what the Yankee fans, and of course there's the record to shoot for and set by the Cubs back in 1906. But the postseason, that's when you get in against the better clubs and you match up against better pitchers.
Talking with Tom Kelly about that today. He knows he's in a teaching mode. His team can't compete. He just hopes they can improve. But teams you have to start looking out for. Now the Rangers will come in with Rick Hellings having a good year. Aaron Seeley. Todd Stottlemyre's not pitched well yet. And then a guy you saw in the National League a lot, Esteban Loaiza, who Texas picked up from Pittsburgh.
Yep. Pretty good pitcher.
But the Red Sox with Tim Wakefield at 14-5 and Pedro Martinez in a short series, you're right. And the Yankees are aware of that. They can waltz through the rest of the league and set an all-time record in wins, but getting into postseason, you got to do those little things. Run the bases, make the plays.
And I think that's why you see Joe Torre, even though the Yankees are winning like they are, when something happens it's not quite the way he likes it, he goes right after the player and tells him that maybe suggests to do it another way. As Posada grounds out, the Yankees go in order here in the bottom of the 7th inning. We played 7 full at the stadium. The Yankees lead it 7-0.
Top of the 8th, David Wells working on a 4-hit shutout.
Going to check out our Hoover pickup of the game, and actually it's several pickups. By the pitcher, David Wells helps himself out by snagging a line drive. Watch this play. Barehanded. No problem. And yet another Hoover pickup by David Wells, who has helped himself out not only with the pitching but with the leather and occasionally the bare hand tonight.
Unusual also for David Wells being a fly ball pitcher. That's 9 ground ball outs. So 3-0 in the last 2 years against the Minnesota Twins with an earned run average a little over 1. And Wells proving again tonight this is quite a matchup for him. A rare ball one to Ochoa.
Kitty, we saw Joe Torre go to the bullpen last night with Hideki Irabu, but I think he's less apt to go to the bullpen tonight with David Wells on the mound if David can continue to pitch well, because there's a day game tomorrow afternoon. And I think if Boomer can give him another complete game, his pitch total is down. 7 innings, only 82 pitches. I think he'll let Boomer go the distance.
And this would be the 3rd, I believe, consecutive complete game. I mean, as rare as complete games are these days, to have 3 in a row. A couple of hops out to Knobloch. He's been busy. That's the 10th ground ball out. 1 down here in the Minnesota 8th.
David Wells has never thrown 3 complete games in a row.
Now we talked about idle time, like the Maytag repairman. Jeff Nelson and Joe Borowski. I think they must have a target there. They're trying to spin those cups over.
They're working on new pitches.
Screwball. Ground foul by Todd Walker. In the cool of the evening, when you've pitched the night before and won, put that little casual windbreaker on a hot, humid night. You need that, right? Stay warm. We talked earlier about Terry Crowley and his work with Todd Walker and the Twins hitters down in what they call the hole before the game. Kirby Puckett named it that. He said, man, it's like breaking rocks in the hole, that hard work every day. High for a ball. Terry Crowley, you played with him, the king of swing. He'll stand about 20 feet away. And in rapid fire, he can throw a fastball. There's the crow. He said he can simulate, Clemens' fastball, throw it. He'll just keep pounding that pitch in a certain area until guys like Todd Walker learn to hit down and through it.
You're right when you say simulate.
Yeah. Up and in, 2-1.
The wing was not the strongest part of the Crow's game.
From 20 feet, he looks great.
Oh, yeah.
He had a terrific influence on Jeff Bagwell when Bagwell was a minor league player with the Red Sox. Terry was coaching in the minor league system there. High fly, right field. A lot of hang time, and O'Neill puts it away, and the Yankee pitching staff continues to shut down Todd Walker and make it a little easier for Bernie Williams to keep the lead in the batting title.
Walker now 2 for 18 this season against the Yankees.
Mears was the last out in Wells' perfect game back on May 17th. He does have a hit tonight. Joined us late. The Twins have 4 harmless base hits. And Wells trying to back up that perfect game he pitched against him with a shutout performance. And for a strike.
Well, when you only allowed 4, that they are scattered.
The 3 Yankee starters in this series, Arabu, Wells tonight, Cone tomorrow, come into this series, popped up, should do it, with a record of 40-11. And they're improving on that. Another quick, quiet inning for Wells and the Yankees. Looks like he could put him on ice and pitch him again tomorrow if necessary. Bottom of the 8th coming up. All Yankees, 7-zip. Back after this. Well, that's been the typical story of a Yankee game on this homestand, with the exception of one. They lead at 7-0. They scored 5 runs in the first 3. Kind of take the hope out of the Twins early in this one. Good fastball from Ritchie on the corner to Chad Curtis. He's looking for his first hit of the night. Would be the 6th win on the homestand, 6 in a row. Grounded foul out near the plate. Talking about bullpen games, Kenny, and oftentimes you sit out there and play some trivia, like the Aflac Trivia Quiz. Jeter, Knobloch, and Curtis are the first trio of Yankees to steal 20 bases in one season since who? Not Roger Daltrey in the group. It's the ball players. And we'll have the answer for you. The guys in the bullpen probably trying to figure that answer out right now.
Who are they? Who?
Right at Mears. Curtis is denied a base hit. Chad 0 for 4. 1 out in the Yankee 8th.
That really hurts when you're 0 for 3 and you hit his ball hard and it's caught.
Getting a little exercise in the Twins bullpen. Travis Miller. As Brocious steps in, Scott's home run streak on the line. I mean, you talk hitting streaks, but here's a guy that has homered in the last 3 games consecutively. 1 for 3 tonight. Ball 1. We talked during the open of our telecast about the Yankees' winning percentage, which is second only to the 1906 Cubs, and 3 more outs, they'll climb within percentage points of attaining that. And Joe Torre would be a significant win for him. In the air, straightaway center. Hit well, but Hocking is there. 2 down.
Well, you mentioned Joe Torre, and if the Yankees do win this ball game tonight, it certainly looks like they will. Joe Torre, in his long and distinguished career as a major league manager, will now get his record even. Back to 500. And you see, late in 1991, it was going to be a climb up a big mountain to get to 500. So now he will attain it tonight.
Managing some of the Mets teams during the Met during the Mets' lean years, he went to 135 games under, but like Casey Stengel, when he had a chance to take over a good ball club like the Yankees. Knobloch 0 for 3. It's amazing the Yankees have 13 hits, and you look in the lineup at some guys that don't have any. Like Curtis and Knobloch. Breaking ball low, 1-1.
Casey Stengel was 166 games below 500. He was managing the Boston Braves in those days, and then of course he came over to the Yankees and took off. In 12 years with the Yankees, he was 453 games above 500.
So the logical question that a lot of fans might say is, well, the way to be a smart manager is you just give them a good ball club. Anybody can manage that team. They used to say that about Sparky Anderson, but I think in Stengel's case, with the collection of players he had, he was the perfect manager. And in Joe Torre's case, with all the talent here, Wells trying to stay cool and get one more inning in.
It looks like one more round. If you can go one more round.
It would be his third consecutive complete game. Joe Torre, the perfect temperament and perfect manager for this ball club. Towards second base, Knobloch will have an 0 for 4 night. But he drew a walk and scored a run to contribute to the 7-run total. Wells 3 outs away from a complete game shutout. We'll have it for you on MSG when we come back. Welcome back to the stadium. Nice crowd of 41,000 plus, 37 paid. A lot of fans got in because they could redeem those tickets from a rainout game, and they got one more tomorrow with these Twins. Bell Atlantic Mobile presents Pad and Pin Set Day. It's a 1 o'clock start. We'll be with you at 12:30. You can get some tickets to that game at the ticket windows, Ticketmaster, or on the web. Also at the clubhouse stores. David Cohn will go for win number 17. So let's answer that trivia question as we head to the ninth. Jeter, Knobloch, and Curtis, first trio of Yankees to steal 20 bases in a season since who? How about that? Yeah. Steve Sachs, Roberto Kelly, and Ricky Henderson, who was traded away to
probably
the Oakland Athletics. First pitch to Denny Hocking, his first at bat of the night. That's ball 1.
Hocking, a switch hitter, batting right-handed against the Boomer.
Outside, 2-0. Rare to see him throw back-to-back pitches out of the strike zone. Still the pitch count well below 100. And Joe Torre, as you said, Kenny, would like to get 9 innings out of it. Day game tomorrow, and he has not had the strain whatsoever. A little lazy fly ball to right that O'Neill will catch on the run. 1 down.
Denny Hocking trying to go the other way. Paul O'Neill runs down the looping line drive to right field. And as I look through my scorebook here, David Wells is not allowed the leadoff man to get on in any inning tonight. And when you get that number 1 guy out, only once is he had to resort to the double play to get him out of an inning. That was in the 3rd. But when you get that lead guy out, double play, hey, inning over.
That leading lady. That pitch in for a strike to Brent Gates. It would be Wells' 5th complete game. Joe Borowski, just in case, loosening in the pen. His 15th win. Late, not a play, 0-2. Would be his 3rd shutout. That would tie him with Brian Moeller, who's had a good year for the Detroit Tigers, particularly at Tiger Stadium. Scott Erickson leads the American League with 7 complete games.
And like David Cohn, David Wells has not lost here at Yankee Stadium this year.
Checks on the curveball, 1-2.
He lost at Anaheim and he lost at Baltimore. One of the reasons why the Yankees wanted to sign him as a free agent, because of his record here at Yankee Stadium, which has been most impressive even as a visiting player.
Got him. Gates down on strikes. And David Wells 1 out away from a complete game shutout. Rocks.
Well, in the perfect game, the Boomer struck out 11 Minnesota Twins. He's going to fall well short of that tonight. But still, I got to classify this as kind of an overpowering performance because of all the first pitch strikes, no leadoff men getting on base. And they've got some K's in reserve, but, you know, he only needs one more to get out of this ballgame and win it.
Molitor takes curveball 1. When we're done talking Yankee baseball, you can tune in to the MSG Sports Desk. Deb Kaufman standing by. That's after our coverage. And then at midnight, Fox Sports News, all right here on MSG. I think if Al Troutwig talks to David Wells, or you get a chance to talk to him a little bit after the game, that's fouled out of play. He might say, Kenny, that his stuff and command was better tonight than in the perfect game. I mean, you have to have a little good fortune to pitch a perfect game. He's had one 3-ball count tonight, 1 or 2 at the most. And he dropped down sidearm to Todd Walker.
If I think back to the perfect game, there was only really one ball that was hit hard. That was knocked down by Chuck Knobloch off the bat of Ron Cooper.
He shut down Todd Walker. Came into this series as the American League's leading hitter. Curveball high, 2-1. Matt Lawton has been responsible for the only Twins runs of this series. He got a 3-run homer off Mike Stanton, and another remarkable statistic on the Yankees. It was the first run the bullpen had surrendered in a month. 37 innings. Ooh, a little high, I guess. Wells wanted to know where it is. You don't see many smiles in that dugout. You can understand why. They have gotten a thorough whipping in the first 2 games. They can only look over and hope that someday, as Todd Walker said in his interview with you, that they can put a team together like the Yankees. Ground ball to short. Couple of hops to Jeter. Toss to Martinez in time, and David Wells has shut out the Minnesota Twins for the 2nd time this year. Rubs his record to 15-2. His 3rd shutout in his 3rd consecutive complete game. And it all adds up to the Yankees' 86th win of the year.
The last 8 Twins went down in order as the Yankees celebrate once again here on the turf at Yankee Stadium, where they have now won 44 of 52 games that have been played here in the Bronx.
And Joe Torre's managerial record right now stands at an even 500 after at one time being 135 games under. Another long night for the Twins. David Wells' reaction to his complete game shutout. Lots more to talk about when we come back on MSG after this. Welcome back to the stadium where the Yankees defeated the Twins 7-0. David Wells now 15-2. Kenny, he makes pitching about as simple as you can make it.
Yeah, throw the first pitch over for a strike, get ahead of the hitters, and go from there. David Wells certainly what a great effort tonight, and watch as he pitches to one of the all-time great hitters in Major League Baseball history, and that is Paul Molitor, as he will get him out. One of the several times that he got Molitor on the evening. Molitor went 0 for 4 on the evening tonight with a strikeout just in that last at-bat against David Wells.
He's going to have a lot of the Yankee pitchers tuning into Metallica and Styx, I think, as their pregame routine. It certainly works for Boomer on his way to really a legitimate Cy Young season.
Well, the Yankees using the same formula that they used in the opening game of the series. Score 7 early and take your chances with your starting pitcher. Hideki Irabu with 7 shutout innings last night, and of course Wells with the complete game victory tonight, and 3 in a row from him in the complete game column. And he hasn't lost since June the 15th, so it's coming up on 2 months since David Wells has lost the ball game. And in each and every game, he's had the Yankees in the ball game with a chance to win. And like you say, maybe a Cy Young in the offing. He and his teammates are going to have to fight it out.
I think the only thing the Yankees would hope for is another good outing from David Cone, because what Joe Torre's doing is conserving that bullpen. Texas is coming in on the weekend. A little stiffer competition.
Yeah, when you have the likes of Will Clark and Juan Gonzalez and Ivan Rodriguez, some of the top hitters in the league. And you're also going to face some tougher pitching with the likes of Rick Helling. And you mentioned the newly acquired Esteban Loaiza, somebody the Yankees haven't seen before. And they always seem to have trouble with guys that are newly minted, so to speak.
All right, we'll see how the Yankees can do tomorrow against LaTroy Hawkins as David Cone will take the mound. Once again, the final score from the stadium, the Yankees win it 7-0. Wells gets the win. He's 15-2. Eric Milton, the former Yankee farmhand, takes the loss. His record is now 6-9. Stay with us. Coming up, the Jeep postgame report with Al Trautwig and Michael Kay. And we'll be with you tomorrow, starting with our New York City Marriott's Yankee Scorecard show. That's at 12:30. It's a 1 o'clock start. David Cone goes for win number 17. Well, you come early, you get to see Monument Park. Make believe you're Don Mattingly or Mickey Mantle or maybe even Paul O'Neill, who got the Yankees started with a 2-run homer in the first inning, and they never looked back. Tino.
This one went away early as he watched Paul O'Neill in the first inning drilling that home run I was talking about. Opposite field, it's his 18th off of the starter Eric Milton, who actually beat the Yankees earlier this season on the 15th of May. Maybe the Yankees remember. Either way, they got their revenge tonight. Bottom of the third, Derek Jeter gets involved, ripping this one down the left field line. He got hits in his first 2 at-bats. Chuck Knobloch was flying all the way around from first. Top speed, he scores. Then it's Tino Martinez. A little bloop job to center field. Derek Jeter scores. The Yankees make the most of this opportunity in the third and lead it 4-0. In the fifth, Jorge Posada, who's hitting over 500 on the homestand, chops a single over first after being behind 0-2 in the count. Martinez, Raines, they both score. It's 7-zip Yankees, and after that, it was all up to David Wells. And Wells had a good night on the mound playing defense, making all sorts of stops. Here's a bouncer that he goes barehanded on. Earlier he caught a line drive and made another put out as well. Then he strikes out Paul Molitor in the 7th. Then he gets Paul Molitor to ground out to end the game. That's the way it ended. He becomes the first pitcher since Ron Guidry in 1983 to pitch 3 consecutive complete game victories. David Wells is really on a roll, and the Yankees are the beneficiaries tonight. 57 games over 500. We'll hear from all the concerned parties in the Yankee clubhouse with Michael Kay in a moment. But first, Deb Kaufman has this update from the MSG Sports Desk.
Thanks again, Al. We check one more time with the Mets and the Cardinals. It's 6-3 there at Busch Stadium. Again, if you didn't see it earlier, Mark McGwire did hit one out, number 47 for him. He retakes the lead in the home run race, chasing Roger Maris, but his Cardinals are down again, 6-3 in the top of the 8th. Good night for Bobby Jones. He had a double and 2 RBIs at the plate for himself earlier in the game. Let's look at the rest of the National League scores from tonight, beginning in Cincinnati, where it's all Pirates over the Reds. They shut them out. The final there was 7-0. The Astros have come back on the Brewers. It was 4-2. It's now 4-4 in the 7th. Alou has gone deep again. His 32nd home run. Jeff Bagwell has also hit one out. Montreal's in Colorado. The Expos and the Rockies are in the 5th. Now it's 7-2 Colorado at Coors Field. Phillies in Arizona, a late start. They're just underway out in Phoenix, and a good matchup in San Diego. Padres and Braves. The postseason matchup we'll probably see eventually. Denny Nagel and Joey Hamilton going in this one, and Finley has led things off with a home run. Texas and Oakland at the Jake tonight. No Juan Gonzalez for the Rangers. They didn't need him. They win it 2-1. John Wetland gets his 32nd save. The rest of the American League scores look like this. Boston needs to keep winning because the Baltimore Orioles are chasing. It's raining at Fenway. 1-1. Baltimore and Tampa Bay still in the 9th. Anaheim and Detroit at Tiger Stadium. At 3-3 at last count. It's now 4-3 in the 11th. Toronto beats Seattle. The final there 7-4. And Oakland and the White Sox are in Chicago at 6-4 A's in the 9th. The Yankees poured on again and beat Minnesota tonight behind David Wells. Michael Kay in the clubhouse report is still to come. Back to the Bronx and Yankee Stadium after this.
We're back on the Jeep post-game report. The Yankees by a touchdown over the Twins. They've now won 6 in a row and just continue to roll along. Into submission tonight went Eric Milton, who's now 6-9, and dominating the entire affair this evening was David Wells, who's now 15-2. We're going to go down the hall to Joe Torre, who now stands all-time as a manager, 500. The Yankees have done him a solid.
Joe, when you took the Yankee job, You were 109 games under 500. The most you were ever under 500 was 135. Today you get it 500. Did you ever think it was happening, and does it mean anything to you?
Sure, it means something to me. I mean, it wasn't something I was counting. I mean, other people had to remind me of it. I didn't think it was possible to get back to 500. I mean, my brother Frank is the one last year who said, brother, you're going to have to go. I said, forget it. You know, I don't even think about it. I mean, that's not really important to me. I mean, it's important because it means you won a lot of games. But I really had put that out of my mind.
Do you remember when you were hired, the headlines, Clueless Joe? Does this validate you think, though?
You know, I hope that we got over that a long time ago. I hope I didn't have to get to 500 to do that. No, I can understand it because people look at your record, and it's understandable. And, you know, that's why I really didn't address it. I just said, let's wait and see what happens and, you know, see if I am clueless or not.
Do you think your Exhibit A that, hey, you know, you have to have talent to win as well? I mean, you can't knock guys with bad records if they have bad teams.
You really, I think you have to watch people manage and then make a decision there. And you know, we won down in Atlanta, and I wasn't concerned about myself. I think that was the only thing that mattered to me, is that I felt coming in here that I was looking forward to the challenge and the fact that I was going to legitimately get a chance to win.
As you can tell, it's time now for the Clubhouse Report. The guys in the interlocking NY win again, and the post-game Clubhouse Report is brought to you by the New York Marriott Marquis, which is Broadway's biggest hit. You may have noticed that look towards Joe Torre a little different today. Yep. Mike going bold to the other side of the desk, and Joe Torre didn't like it, huh?
Well, when he saw me come to the other side of the desk, he said, if we lose tomorrow, you are dead. You're out of here. I said, you know, we just try to give people a different look. He said, you know, 57 games over 500, we don't need a different look.
It's amazing when you go back to Clueless Joe. I mean, some of the headlines that have been used at certain times and how they've just been wrong. You know, it's amazing.
Well, Tim Raines had a great line. He just told Len Robbins of the Post, he said, he goes, come on, man, he managed the Mets. You have to be a miracle worker to win with them.
I thought tonight David Cohn's stuff was as good as the day he threw the perfect game. David Wells. I did that before, too. As good as the day he threw that perfect game.
He was outstanding today. I mean, he was dominating, but not in like a Kerry Wood sort of way. I mean, I think 22 out of the 30 batters he faced, first pitch strikes. He knew right away that the Twins' game plan was to swing at the first pitch, so he and Posada went to the early curveball. He's getting a lot of fly balls. Then in the middle innings, a lot of ground balls. He was magnificent. 101 pitches overall, I think 72 strikes, and that was as dominating as the perfect game. It's hard to believe, but it really was.
Even in the ninth inning, the Twins were late on his fastball, so he had a lot of juice.
It's unbelievable if you think about it, Al. 3 straight complete games. He's now 15-2. This is David Wells. Nobody ever expected David Wells to be 15-2 because the concentration level that it takes to be 15-2 means you have to come out every single day and do the job. And he has really turned his career around. I mean, he always had a great career, but he's taken the next step right now. And, you know, he could have a magnificent year. He could have a Cy Young Award year this year.
And the game against Texas, when the Yankees had the big lead and he let Texas come right back, and Joe Torre had some things to say about his conditioning, commitment, blah, 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 all that stuff, that was the turning point for him this season.
I think, and Posada thinks that the turning point came a little bit after that because it fed off what Joe Torre said in Texas. Maybe he's out of shape. And then what Wells did was, let's have a meeting. That was in Minnesota.
Right.
And that really did turn things around. He sat down with Torre, and he sat down with Stoudemire as well and said, hey, listen, you know, let's get things straightened out. And they laid it on the table, and you know, he's turned it around. He has been unbelievable.
Now let's talk about the catcher, Jorge Posada. He is really showing now the hitting consistency that the Yankees always thought that he would have on the homestand. It's only 6 games, but still it's a pretty good stretch of a half a dozen games where Jorge is hitting, I think the number is 563. He's just doing everything great in the batter's box.
He's unbelievable. He has been great, and he hits from both sides of the plate, and he's turning into like a little mini Bernie Williams because I think he hits 370 from the right side as well. And you could tell now why everybody that ever was a Yankee GM would pick up the phone over the last 5 years, and instead of hello, they would hear Posada, Posada, Posada. And the Yankees, to their credit, always said no, no, no. And now he's pretty much an untouchable. Switch hitting catcher.
Yeah, you just saw him hit left, hit from the right, doing it both sides. As far as this game goes, we've talked before about what would the Yankees look like if everybody was sort of clicking. That's almost the point that we're at right now.
Yeah,
you know, 1-9, everybody's in a pretty good frame of mind.
And in another week, they get Chili Davis back. And Chili Davis actually said the other day, he said, you know, if I'm playing well, he said, we could actually be a better team. So if you get Chili Davis back and you also get back Jeff Nelson, maybe you are a better team. I don't know how it could manifest itself in wins and losses, but they could actually be better on paper.
I heard you say on the radio the other day how amazing it would be if the Yankees got to 90 wins before they got to 30 losses. It's possible.
It is possible. And, you know, they've turned Yankee Stadium into kind of a college basketball pit where people come in here and they can't win. It's like the pit in New Mexico. 8 losses, and, you know, we're in the middle of August, and the whole season has been absolutely mind-boggling, Al. You know, we see every game, but you still look at each other. You know, John and I looked at each other. It was 2-0 in the first inning, and
it's over. It's over. Yeah. Well, we wanted to hear from David Wells, but he had to ice his shoulder. We will hear from him when we come back on the Jeep postgame report. The Yankees win 7-0, and they even off Joe Torre's managing career at an even 500. To do that, the Yankees have had to do an awful lot of winning the last 3 years, and they have. It's been 15 years since a Yankee pitcher had 3 consecutive complete game victories. David Wells now on a list with Ron Guidry, who last did it in 1983. The Yankees win 7-0 because of their hitting and because of his dominance. And after icing up his shoulder, a well-deserved icing, I might add. The only thing that you wonder about David Wells, too many innings? I don't know. He looks pretty strong. Here's what he had to say with Mike a moment ago.
David, it wasn't a perfect game, but it was only 3 guys over the limit. How does this compare with that game? Because you seem dominating tonight as well.
You know, tonight I felt really good. Good command of my pitches. I had a good bullpen, so you know, I was just trying to go with you know, with the flow, just staying back and trying to throw strikes and get ahead of the hitters and try to you know, try to get the ground ball or the strikeout. But you know, the defense, you know, once again made the great plays behind me, and you know, it's something that when you get that, you know, it's you can pretty much throw the ball, you know, as long as you make a good pitch to hit it, you have confidence in them to you know, to rely on them instead of trying to strike out every guy and doing something that you shouldn't.
You know, you're 15-2. Could you ever imagine 15-2?
No, not at all. You know, we got a great offense going right now. I think every guy going out there is getting some run support. So you got to give the hitters all the credit. You know, we're just trying to keep them in the ball game, and you know, and they're exploding. If it's the first inning or the 9th inning, whatever it may be, and it's something that you know, it's nice to have as a pitcher going out there and getting a good run support for you, because it just makes you relax and throw strikes and not try to nitpick around the hitters. I mean, all the hitters in this league are good. It's just something that you just have to, you know, you have to make good pitches, and that's what happens when you do that and you get all the runs, and you don't have to, you know, you don't have to make that bastard pitch to get the guy out.
Wearing the hat of New York's finest, he was fine tonight. One of the aspects that made this interesting, especially the early part of the game, was because of what Paul Molitor told us. He said, look, we don't think about the perfect game, but if we get to the 3rd or 4th inning and it's all zeros up there, who knows what that'll do to our minds. I was sort of disappointed that it went away as early as it did. David Wells was probably happy. I'll tell you what, if you think about it, a lot of people were thinking about the perfect game. I mean, it's the same matchup. It's the next time that he's faced them, and you know, it ended quickly when Brent Gates hit one off of Brocious' glove, and you kind of like lean forward and go, maybe they'll score that in E5. But that was a legitimate hit. All right, well, this is obviously something that Mike touched on with Wells at the beginning of the interview, and to hear what we're about to hear in a moment, his sort of overall take on what it did to his life is pretty intriguing. You know, I'll tell you what, I think it has put a lot of the spotlight on David Wells, and you know, everybody associates him with the perfect game. Now, in his locker is a framed newspaper from an old Daily News of Don Larson's perfect game, and I know that David is in some kind of promotional agreement where he and Don Larson signed baseballs on either side of the sweet spot, so he will always be remembered as a guy who pitched the perfect game. But it does change your life. I think in his case, it actually changed him for the better, because I think that it validated him. Hey, this guy is a legitimate great pitcher. And now, following that, it's not as if he pitched the perfect game and then, you know, went down. He has continued to excel, not pitching perfect games, but, you know, 15-2. And the thing that makes him amazing to me is that the guy doesn't walk anybody and throws hard. I mean, you look at a guy like Bob Tewksbury, he doesn't walk anybody because he can't. He can't throw the ball over the plate. David wasn't fooling around tonight. It was strike zone city. It's amazing, the breaking ball, the changeup. Every single pitch was working. The 2-seam fastball, the 4-seamer up in the zone. He paints. I mean, power pitchers don't paint, and David Wells now paints. He is a legitimate great pitcher. And, you know, going back to the Clueless Joe and how headlines and opinions change over time, remember when the Yankees decided to go David Wells instead of Jimmy Key, and everybody was like, "Oh my goodness, what are they doing?" Well, this one certainly turned out well. And honestly, we were two of those people, because Jimmy Key was a great guy in the clubhouse, but all the fears about David Wells really have been unfounded. He fits into the clubhouse, and you know, he's a little bit off center, a little bit off beat, but he doesn't hurt anybody, doesn't bring anybody down with him, and he has been a great teammate for everybody, and now he's a great pitcher as well. And if you think about it, he is also a guy who was a bargain for the Yankees. I mean, he's about $4 million pitcher
15-2, usually get about $8 million for that.
Well, it's turned out well for him. Plus, he's gotten to sell stuff on a home shopping channel, so life is good for Wells. But listen to this.
So it got me out of the innings.
Were you disappointed when Brent Gates got the hit? Oh, not another perfect game?
No, I don't ever want one of them again.
Why not?
It's just too much pressure on you. It changes your life drastically, and it's something that, you know, I like to see maybe a Rabu or Dookie or even Coney. I think Coney deserves it more than anybody, so let them guys have it.
Well, Mike, as we continue to follow this team, it's fun, and sometimes the games are a little dull because the Yankees are so dominant, but it's also interesting to watch all the players answer all the questions from the media that revolves in and out of the clubhouse. You know, how good can you be? How many wins can you get? They aren't focused on that at all, are they?
They really aren't. I spoke to Paul O'Neill at length today before the game, and he said, listen, we really don't look at it. He said it's something the media looks at. Of course, we realize how many games we are over 500, but in terms of the 117 wins, he said we really do take it a game at a time. And I know that sounds very Nuke LaLoosh and, you know, Bull Durham type of speak, but they mean it because you can see the way they approach each game. Tomorrow is the biggest game of the year for them.
We play in the spirit of Mariano Duncan, they might say. We play today, we win today. That's it.
Every day.
That's it with the show here tonight. With Michael Kay, I'm Al Troutwig. Thanks for joining us for tonight's edition of the Jeep Post Game Report. The Yankees win it again, 7-0 over the Minnesota Twins. They've taken all the first six of this 11-game homestand from Kansas City and now Minnesota. And one more tomorrow. LaTroy Hawkins will pitch for Minnesota. And the Yankees will send David Cohn to the mound. We'll begin our coverage at 12:30 with the New York City Marriott's Yankees scorecard here on MSG. Coming up next, as Deb Kaufman said, a full half hour of the day's events in New York sports. That's at the MSG Sports Desk in moments on MSG. Then tonight at midnight, Mike, are you on Fox Sports News?
No.
Their loss again. That's coming up later when the clock strikes 12 here on MSG. So once again, he was the man, this guy who's challenging now for the Cy Young, Mr. Perfect, David Wells. He goes the complete game route. And Paul O'Neill just decided to be decisive early. First inning, a 2-run home run. Then Tino Martinez got focused and saw the ball. He was also involved in the big hit barrage. And the Yankees win this one. I told you he was in a groove. There he goes. It wasn't solid, it wasn't long, but it was a hit, and it drove in a run. Twins got some defense, but they needed more than that. They needed to solve David Wells, and they could not. And what about this homestand for Jorge Posada? Left side, right side, he's all around the town. Nothing going right for Minnesota. They've lost 9 of 10, and tomorrow they'll try to save themselves in this series with the Yankees. MSG's coverage of Yankees baseball is produced by Leon Schweier, directed by Bill Webb. Replays from Andrew Braun, and all the information like that from Eddie Caginelli. For all of us here in the Bronx, we'll see you tomorrow afternoon.